got in an accident.
Are you okay?
I don't know.
Okay, did you call the police yet?
Yeah, I did.
I'm gonna call an advocate and you can tell us both at the same time, okay?
Hey, Sarah, your dad told me that you need help.
So, is there anything that I need to do? Or...
Just focus on getting better.
With an advocate on your side, you're never alone.
Today's the day. And look who I just met.
Hey, Dad.
You deserve a worry-free recovery. You deserve an advocate.
This is the Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find the Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, the Monty Show live on Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. Memphis and the Pac-12 dancing again, apparently. We'll talk all about that. Are we doomed in college football? And I know that seems dramatic.
Doom.
With the Big Ten and the SEC meeting today in New Orleans. And let's stop pulling punches about what they're doing. The SEC and the Big Ten are taking over the college football playoff. Plain and simple. Are we doomed in college football? Is there a path where there's a seat at the table for everybody? I personally do not think so. We'll talk about that. We have got to get into how bad the NBA is right now. We did not get to the NBA All-Star game yesterday, which we meant to do, so we'll talk about that. I think this thing today with the Big Ten and the SEC, this is as ground zero. This is as serious as it gets. When it comes to what we are doing and what the future of college athletics looks like today in New Orleans is ground zero. When you have the board of directors and the commissioners of the Big Ten and the SEC excluding everybody else, the ACC, the Big 12, the G5, everybody else is out. They're going to make a decision today on how to proceed with adding 4 automatic qualifiers for each the Big Ten and the SEC. And I know that yesterday the comment section chose violence. It's not the route that, I would have.
Such as in life.
And stuff.
Right.
It's not the route that I would have gone. No, it's certainly not. But the comment section chose violence yesterday over this. And am I being too dramatic? Am I being, hype it up, Monty? Is that what I'm doing when I say I think that the Big Ten and the SEC today are looking to take all the flowers for themselves and leave nothing for anybody else?
I mean, I just think it's day one of them doing that. This is like the first real official, hey, like we're in public making a concerted effort to get into our own level pretty much. Like, you read about like, what all the reporters out there talking about how it's like, hey, the SEC and the Big Ten, are essentially going to take themselves into another level. They're going to get themselves more AQs. They're going to get themselves bigger guaranteed paychecks.
Yeah.
And you can either go along with it or you can get out. And I think that's the hard part is like, I don't disagree that the Big 12 and the ACC haven't really earned the right to say that they deserve more AQs. They just haven't. Like you just have not done that in the last probably 5 years of competition in the college football playoff. Like you haven't been able to kind of stake your claim to why you should be making more money over the Big Ten and the SEC. And that's the really challenging part is like, I wonder oftentimes when we talk about this stuff, like if you're Brett Yormark and Jim Phillips, or even if, you're Gloria Nevarez, right? And you're looking at this, you're sitting here and you're saying, man, like we don't even have really the ability to go into a room and say, hey, this is what we want, because it's essentially just like, hey, this is what you're going to get.
Is it doomsday? I guess that's the question. And I'm trying not to be Mr. Drama but is this truly doomsday? Because you look at what Stuart Mandel, the great Stuart Mandel, and if you're not reading The Athletic, again, I tell you, I don't know what you're waiting for. You look at the great Stuart Mandel. And you read that bottom paragraph. Leaders of the two leagues are meeting this week in New Orleans, where they are expected to push forward with a full-on takeover of the college football playoff beginning in 2026. The field would expand to 14 or 16 teams. The Power Two would grant themselves 4 automatic berths each. The ACC and the Big 12 would get 2. The Group of 5 would get 1, leaving just 1 or 3 at large. So if you do some math, 4 and 4 is 8. 2 for the Big 12 is 10. 2 for the ACC is 12. 1 for the G5 is 13. And I think you have 1 more at large. And when I talk to you about doomsday, that's doomsday. If half of a college football playoff belongs to the SEC and the Big 10, what are we really doing? If you know the cards that the dealer is going to lay down on the table, are we really playing a fair game? Is this really a fair fight? And I'm here to tell you it's not. And I think we can talk all about NIL. We can talk all about the transfer portal. We can talk about all about money. This right here is what's destroying college football. When you want to blame the portal and the kid and the NIL and the house settlement and education's enough, Monty. Okay, great. Those are great conversations. But when you ask me what's destroying college football, what's eroding the faith and confidence of the average garden variety fan, this is what it is. This is when you can look back and you can say, on February 19, 2025, the college football world essentially ate itself, became a carnivore, and feasted on itself when we gave half of the college football playoff berths to the SEC and the Big Ten. And I, Jake, don't think that that's being melodramatic at all.
No, I don't think it's being dramatic at all. I think that, I think the question of is this doomsday depends on, who you're asking and who you're a fan of or who you want to see win in this scenario. If you're an SEC or Big Ten fan, this is great news. You're going to get more of your teams in. They're going to dominate at a higher level. That's what you want. But I think for the rest of college football, this is one step closer to needing a secondary playoff, a secondary system that really only involves, the G5s, and schools who maybe aren't interested in revenue sharing at the highest levels. So I think that's kind of what I see here. I see this as, hey, this is just another step through these meetings in New Orleans, to go ahead and exclude people and kind of separate the classes in college athletics. And we knew this was coming. This is not hardly a surprise. This is not hardly some, shocking news moment. It's more about, hey, this conversation has been ongoing and we're just sitting here essentially watching the sport, die in a sense where it's like, hey, we're definitely going to have, whether you want to call it a super league or you want to call it a separation of classes, we are absolutely going to have the big boys playing in their own situation, and then the everybody else who can't afford to play with those guys or maybe doesn't want to is going to have to create their own system, and that's just what needs to happen for the sport to continue to move forward. When you throw things in like NIL and transfer portal, and you throw things in like some schools not necessarily caring about winning at the highest level in football, even though they're at a power school in a power conference, those are the uncontrollables that I look at if you're a commissioner in the Big 12 or the ACC that are really tough to handle. I mean, you're essentially sending your commissioner into that room to say what exactly? That, Baylor somehow means that you should get more money, that TCU or Duke football or Boston college football, whatever, whatever substandard team that's not competing in the college football playoff. Like, there's no way for you to justify your position. That's where the question of is this doomsday, I feel like, really comes to the front. You don't have a way to get back.
There is no going back. And I'm going to continue to beat this drum repeatedly. Super League, Super League, Super League. That's how you fix this. I think, and I'm a dreamer. Totally get that. I'm a Pisces. I am somebody today's my birthday, even though my first and only child over here didn't say happy birthday to me today.
Well, it's only been an hour we've been together. So, I mean, that's
people,
not,
probably an hour too much. And people texting me right now telling me I'm an Aquarius. Get it right. I'm a Pisces.
Wow.
That means I'm a lover and a dreamer. And let's also believe that as a dreamer, the College Football Super League is taking shape behind closed doors in New Orleans today. Because I think that is the only way. I think that is the only path. I think that is the only way that you right the wrongs in college football is you bring 60 to 80 teams together in an NFL-style Super League.
Yeah.
That's the beginning and the end. And I think if that's what today is, if this is the beginning of the College Football Super League, then this was a very good day for college football. But what terrifies me is that is not what this is. That is not what this is. And I think I go back to Mr. Sankey's own words. And when I look at him, on a podcast with Pervin Liar saying they want to be us, and I told you at the time when we first played this should terrify you. If you are not the Big Ten or the SEC, that means everybody else, and that includes the beloved Notre Dame. This right here should terrify you because you know what he was doing? He was getting ready for today's meeting.
I don't want to dumb down the Southeastern Conference to be part of some Super League notion with 70 teams that some people speculate would happen. They want to be us, and that's on them to figure it out, not on me to bring myself back to earth.
I mean, number one, facts.
That should terrify you.
Yeah.
Because what did he really say right there? Greg Sankey right there, the most powerful man in college athletics, said to you, I'm going to do what I want to do, and you all figure out what you're going to do. But I'm going to do what's best for my constituents. And you all are just going to go figure it out. That's exactly what he said right there. And when you put it in that light, and I'm going to play this bite again, because today, when we have the Big Ten and the SEC meeting in New Orleans, without the rest of college football, they essentially have extended the bird to everybody else. When you hear him say, I'm not going to lower, or they want to be us, what he's really saying is, I'm going to do whatever I think is right, and I'm going to do what I want to do, and the rest of you can figure it out.
I don't want to dumb down the Southeastern Conference to be part of some Super League notion with 70 teams that some people speculate would happen. They want to be us, and that's on them to figure it out, not on me to bring myself back to earth.
Wow.
Yeah.
And note, and this was the thing that stood out to me then and now, do you think he accidentally said 70 teams? Does Greg Sankey, or does a guy the power of Greg Sankey accidentally throw out the number 70?
Just blurt that out randomly?
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. So I'm happy to be the guy that's hitting the panic button. And I'm happy to be the guy at 5:15 in the morning on the West Coast with 500 people watching the show right now. Hello by the way, big shout out to Spotify. Huge week on Spotify last week. Huge week on Twitter.
X.
The last couple of weeks. Appreciate all of you watching the show. And if you're not watching on YouTube, please come over to YouTube, hit subscribe, give us a thumbs up. It helps the channel grow. But here we are at 5:15 in the morning on the West Coast, talking about what I think could be the beginning of the end of college football. Because there is this notion and belief, oh, well, people are going to watch no matter what we do. I don't think that's the case. I do not believe that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think we see that play out week in and week out and during the season. Like, people are not just going to, watch no matter what. Like, people only watch the games that either have one of two things. You're either got a juggernaut of a matchup that's got huge college football playoff implications, or you're a team that has relevancy for another reason, and those reasons are numerous. It could be a media situation. It could be who the hell knows what it is. We all know those situations.
Yes, we do.
But there has to be a reason to watch the game. That's always been my point. Like, in all the time we've talked about like media rights negotiations or the college football playoff, or there has to be something that brings the viewer to the screen.
But look at our situation. Where did we watch Notre Dame? And Where did we watch Notre Dame Penn State? Well, I remember we were at Nora's Italian restaurant in Las Vegas.
Where did we watch Notre Dame, Indiana?
Yeah, I
On
think
a boat.
on a boat.
On our phone.
And what I'm telling you is, if your team's in, great. I'm passionate about Notre Dame football. I'm watching every one of their games. But if you are not a Notre Dame fan, were you watching Notre Dame, Indiana? I don't know the answer to that question.
I mean,
were there a whole lot of people fired up? In all honesty, were there a whole lot of people fired up for SMU Penn State?
No, I don't think that game had heat. I think the Indiana Notre Dame game had a little bit of heat because we still didn't know who Indiana was. We still had the, hey, can they come out and shock the world vibe working in that game? And obviously they didn't. But I do think a good chunk of people who weren't Notre Dame fans probably watched that specific game because there was a sort of,
I hope you're right,
shock factor with Indiana.
And listen, we've talked about the college football playoff viewership, and we've talked about, I'm not telling you by any stretch of the imagination that we are in a situation where TV viewership is booming. It's not. We're in a really, maybe this is where we all come together, right? Like the way we watch this, do you guys understand that this show you're watching, the Monty Show, is watched more on televisions than any other device?
Mm-hmm.
Let that sink in. Not your phone, not your iPad. More people now watch this show on big screens than at any other time in its history. And that's the way most people watch the show. The way we consume things has changed. The way you look at the NBA numbers and the faltering numbers in college basketball and the interest level, and things are changing. But what has always remained strong? Look at the massive numbers the Super Bowl pulled. Has the NFL playoff system changed repeatedly every single year?
No.
With a couple of teams taking control?
Hell no.
No. And I am telling you that it is very bad. It is very bad for college football when we start getting into, well, Greg Sankey doesn't want Memphis in the college football playoff. So sorry guys. Enjoy the, mommy's butt wipes bowl against nobody cares state.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to happen to the G5. And if you think, again, do the math, and let's pretend it's 14, because I think 14 is far more likely than 16. 8 of the 14 go to the Big 10 and the SEC. 2 more go to the Big 12. That's 10.
Yeah.
2 more go to the ACC. That's 12. 1 goes to the G5 for 13. Who do you think's taking that 14 spot? I have to believe that the Alabama Ole Miss, also ran team in the Big 10 is going to get that final spot.
Yeah.
Do we really believe that this past year UNLV lost the Mountain West Championship game, that UNLV is getting that spot?
No.
I can't see that happen. Do you really think that we're going to have a Clemson SMU scenario play itself out again?
No, I mean, I just think if you're anybody but the SEC and the Big Ten, you have to have a really clear stake to your spots in the college football playoff, meaning you can't have, hey, well, they're a 3-loss, 9-win team and they play in the Big 12. You're not getting in. Like, you're not. You have to be a 1-loss team and you have to have good strength of schedule. You do. That's the formula. You have to have, 1 loss, and it would be ideal if you would beat a good schedule. And that's how, if you're anybody but the Big Ten and the SEC, you're going to go about making money. And again, I just think that I'm sure when we get to the comments section, people are going to be, complaining and saying that there's, big boy fatigue and, the SEC and the Big Ten shouldn't just run everything. But the reality is, this is the position that the SEC and the Big Ten have essentially earned. I mean, they've just simply gone out and beaten everybody. And so because of that, what do they have? Well, they've got more money. So now they can go out and say, hey, well, We're the ones that are creating the TV matchups. We're the ones driving the sport forward. And somehow Big 12 fan or ACC fan is going to say, well, yeah, but what about Dabo's run? Or what about this? Like, it ultimately, none of it matters because these two conferences are just plowing forward, man. They're just pushing the pace as fast as possible forward.
Yeah, and again, from Sportico, I would remind you, it's Ohio State, arguably the biggest brand in all of college football, against Notre Dame, who's supposedly, and I'm a Notre Dame fan, but I have told you, I'm a big believer that the brand at Notre Dame has taken a beating in the last 20 years because I don't believe that Notre Dame has been ever close to a national championship, and I don't think they were close this year. Playing in the game, great. Okay, cool. I think that's a great achievement with a guy like Riley Leonard at quarterback. I think that was fantastic, right? But you look at this right here. When you have two massive brands, supposedly like Ohio State and Notre Dame, and you're down 12%, you're off 12%.
Well, okay, so I don't disagree. That's a big number. But
That's
what
a
were we
huge
just
number.
talking about? What were we just talking about? And this is something that I agree. The College Football Playoff Committee and Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti need to understand why. So the overall number of viewership was like 21 million, right? That in that screenshot we just shared. But think about what last year was, not this past season, but the year before.
Michigan versus Washington.
Michigan versus Washington. Nobody cared about Washington in that game.
But it had 25 million
but
viewers.
Why? This is my point. Why? Because everybody was on the Michigan cheating scandal, and everybody watched that game for one of two reasons. And this is why it did so well. Hey, you were either a Michigan fan and you wanted to tell the world to go F itself, or you were a Michigan hater and you wanted to see them lose. Either way, you were plugged in with your popcorn watching that game. And that's why that game did as well as it did. So my point here in all of this is that the Michigan-Washington National Championship is exactly what I'm talking about as to why people watch things. There's drama, there's heat, there's off-the-field stuff happening that people want to plug into. But with Ohio State and Notre Dame, a perfectly reasonable football matchup, I might add. Two big brands. You're not playing Ohio State and SMU in the national championship game, but there wasn't that vitriol in the room for fans, which is why you get the 12% drop. So when we talk about the Big Ten and the SEC taking over college football, and is this doomsday? 5 years from now, I guarantee you on this show, we'll be having a conversation about people being sick and tired of it being the Big Ten SEC Invitational every year in the national championship game. I guarantee it. And that's something the sport is going to have to face if it hasn't, and I assume it will, if it hasn't gone to a Super League by that time.
Yeah. All right. Let's get your thoughts. Is it doomsday? Where do you guys come down on this? And I want to be clear that we're talking about total viewership, because I already see some people in the comment section talking about how fewer people subscribe to cable. Totally right. That's exactly right. But they include stream. They include device diversity.
Yeah.
The total viewership, I think only 19% of American households now have their watch TV by antenna. Only 19%. Most people now overwhelmingly don't pay for cable or dish. I believe that, like all those numbers are accounted for. So it's not that fewer people are watching on television. The total viewership number, for instance, the college football playoff final was the most watched college football game of the year, and it was still down dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
And one other thing I would point out, the NFL playoff numbers were down as well, even though the Super Bowl was a behemoth. So how do you fix all that? Oh, I know. You have college football playoffs on Saturday and NFL playoffs on Sunday.
Yeah.
And you have the college football championship on Saturday and the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Yeah, you got to work together. But again, can't do that until college football figures itself out.
I think it's coming. The Monty Show is always presented by the Advocates at theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business. Don't forget, if you are here in the great state of Utah, the Advocates are going to have a blood drive on March 10th in their Midvale, Utah offices. Please donate blood if you have the time. If you can't make it March 10th, and if you are outside of the state of Utah, please consider donating blood in the name of the Advocates. And no matter where you are, hello Seattle, hello state of Washington, hello San Diego and Southern California, Las Vegas. No matter where you're listening to this show, the Advocates are ready to serve you at theadvocates.com. You can chat with an injury attorney live online, and it won't cost you a dime, 24/7, 365, and you can be assured that you are getting clear, risk-free advice on one of the worst days of your life. You get in an accident, you get hurt at work. The Advocates know how difficult that is. So hook it up right now. Get the best legal advice available to you without paying a dime at theadvocates.com. All right, who is first in today? And Donuts gets the nod. Happy birthday, a small golf fund. Thanks for my morning entertainment. Appreciate you and Donuts.
Nice.
And I think one thing that I think is really important. Some days, yes, we get heated. Some days, yes, we talk passionately about Oklahoma State or whoever. It's never personal on this show. So as we get into the comment section today, don't make it personal. Don't take it. This is not brain surgery or life and death. We're just talking about sports. So, and Donuts, I appreciate the reminder on that. Let's see. Steely Matt, hello. Pete Forte, hello. Welcome to the nightmare. Everyone hit the like button. Yes, hello. Look at my guy, Mr. Preston, the Monty Show mechanic. If you are in Salt Lake or the great state of Utah, my guy is the best mechanic in the business. Yes. I'm telling you. Sergeant Moorhue, hello from Las Vegas. Jay McClenahan, hello. Good to see all of you. Jay Chapman, Big Ten and SEC, throw down the gauntlet. You're exactly right. I think that's exactly right. Sergeant, I want expansion, but it feels like they won't stop at 16. They'll keep going until 25. But at that point, aren't you just building a super league? Because you're calling it, if you don't stop, and I think the number's 14. 16 waters down the products. If you had 1 year at 12, and I thought it was actually really compelling,
right?
And it did the job. Did the college football playoff expansion to 12 do what it was supposed to do? Yes, unequivocally.
Yeah.
We talked about it for weeks on end. SMU and buying their way into the ACC and then winding up in the first round of the play and getting absolutely torched. Does Boise State deserve the first round bye? I think it did its job. I truly do. You can't go to 25. There's no way. Then have a play-in with 24 and 25 to fight for the final spot. I just don't know how you do that. I don't. Seth, who's a hat maker. Good morning. Let's go. Hello. And Donuts. The adverse effect is when people look at playoff games like they do watching meaningless bowl games. It becomes a drain. Man, is that a good point?
Yeah, and
I think that's very true.
That's the reverse effect, like you said. When you start, expanding the college football playoff, inevitably you're going to get, a terrible playoff game. And again, that's where the committee has to be better. The committee, part of the committee's job has to be creating compelling matchups, and that's again why I think you're hearing everybody and their mom talk about hey, we need to better understand what the committee is weighing and how the committee goes about making these matchups and who gets in and who gets excluded, because we can't have bad matchups, number one, but
that's
number
right.
two, as the us in the SEC and the Big Ten can't get robbed of our spots. We got to make sure that we fill up every spot.
If they get 8 automatic qualifiers.
When?
Thank you.
When?
Thank you.
Stay hard.
When they get 8 automatic qualifiers, that'll be a very dark day. It will be a very, very dark day. Now, I don't know.
Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and complain about more SEC and Big Ten football games because they're damn good football games.
I agree. That's college football guy. Okay. The SEC and the Big Ten want to have full control over FBS. Well, I think they have that already, don't they? I think that this is the first step to move things towards either a super league or a new subdivision.
And I think that's the thing that most people aren't talking about, like with the total picture in college football. Everyone focuses on, hey, like what are these two doing? But what does the rest of the system do? That's the thing.
The reaction and the unintended consequences.
Yeah.
Because I know you're tired of hearing me talk about that, but the unintended consequences of their actions today and the unknown. What is the G5 rebound with? What is Brett Yormark? What is Jim Phillips? Like those guys aren't just sitting on their hands. And my guess is, and not my guess, because I've heard wild scenarios. I've been told, and I haven't been able to confirm it, but that the ACC and the Big 12 have plans, right? They're the schemers. Like they have plans because they have to protect their stakeholders.
Because it's all part of the plan.
And it's very difficult to get people to talk about openly, what if then? Hey, what if they take AQs? Then we're going to. It's very difficult to get people to openly and honestly talk about that.
I don't live in a what if scenario.
No, you don't. No, you don't, Doctor. No, that's Ed Scott, and we're going to talk about Memphis coming up here in a minute with the Pac-12. But that's a dude I'd keep an eye on. Because what if scenarios don't pay the bills?
Yeah.
And I think if you are the Big 12 and the ACC, you better have your hand. Because I don't disagree with the college football guy at all. I don't. I think the first step to move things towards a super league or a new subdivision.
I mean, this is the classic scenario like that you see in movies all the time, right? I mean, is this not, for all the Avengers fans out there, is this not Thanos saying that he's got to fix the system and he's got to come into the world and make everything perfect?
Stop
like,
it.
That's what this is.
Why bring up comic books that nobody cares about?
Oh, people cared about that movie, dude. This is the SEC and the Big Ten saying, hey, the system's not good enough. We want to make more money, so we're gonna air quotes fix it. Like that's what
I don't
it is.
disagree
like,
with
and,
that.
And I just I don't know. I vacillate on, hey, is this actually bad for college football?
Vacillate.
Yeah, like is this in reality bad for college football? Or is this the natural progression of the sport? I mean, everybody out here is chasing money, which again, I think is something we got to stop criticizing these two conferences for.
Yeah.
If you're not trying to make money, what are you trying to do?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question. Jay Chapman, the lockdown ACC Big 12 rants are going to be epic. And the panic button, this is no different than the Pac-12 community. Like the ridiculousness that is the made-up BS that, the podcaster community throws against the wall.
He's got no class.
I'm just telling you, don't buy into, because I go back to what the college football guru guy thing said. I think the only way that this is positive is if Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti at the Big Ten and the SEC are pulling the rest of college football along.
Yeah.
Into a super league, larger payout. And it's what you're always saying, the avenue that brings in more private money. Because that's how you're going to fix this. Everybody's got to have access to more money because
got to be a bigger pool.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, UNLV would be in the Pac-12 if it meant they were going to make more money.
Yeah.
If they were going to net more money. And it's I've talked about this 1,000 times. I don't care what you're paying me. What am I going home with? That's the biggest issue. And we talked about this specifically with UNLV, for instance. UNLV's got all this money, but what are they actually making? How much, does it make any financial sense for them to go to the Pac-12? No, it doesn't. Does it make financial sense to bring in private and form a super league? My opinion, based on people I talk to, is yes, it very much does.
Excellent strategy, sir.
And note that, maybe we play this bite again. Note that it's not that Greg Sankey said, I'm never doing a super league or I'm not doing it. Listen to what he says about a 70-team Super League.
I don't want to dumb down the Southeastern Conference to be part of some Super League notion with 70 teams that some people speculate would happen.
I don't want to lessen my product to go join your 70-team model. I'm not joining a Super League, or the SEC has no interest in a Super League. He never said that. What he said was, we're going to do it my way, or we're not going to do it.
Yeah, my way, or you can pound sand, dude.
So I think, and again, to what I've been saying for 2 years, I feel like now, the Super League is coming. And all of the media pundits and the idiots on podcasts who are like, oh my God, the Super League is dead. What does fat ass know? I'm telling you, anybody pronouncing the Super League dead you could just turn their shit off because they don't know what they're talking about.
And I would also point out, in light of keeping receipts, Ross Dellinger at one point reported that the Super League was dead. And that was, I believe, almost a year ago now. And since then, has never said anything about the Super League being dead again.
Not
and has put
once.
out multiple pieces about it.
And I like Ross a lot. I respect Ross.
Yeah.
I have a lot of...
my point is not that Ross sucks. Ross is great at what he does. My point is that you have a sector of college football that, in reporting, I mean, you have a sector of reporting in college football that wants the Super League to die.
Very much
They
so.
don't want
Very
the Super
much
League
so.
to happen. And what I'm sitting here saying is this is just like anything else in life that we all as people can relate to. Everybody knows there's a time in their life when something difficult comes along, and you have to find a way to not only tolerate it, but take advantage of it. Like, is anyone asking the question of, hey, well, if the SEC and the Big Ten form a Super League, and then, let's just say the Power Four forms a Super League, and they go and do their own thing and they exclude the G5 and everyone else. Well, there has to be a benefit to the G5 in that scenario that they can create. And that's, again, what's not formed yet. And I hope that folks like Lori Navarez and if Teresa Gould and company can come back to being a real conference, them and anybody in the G5. I hope that these people are talking about, okay, well, if this happens, what's best case scenario for us? How can we take advantage?
And if you want to talk about cartoon movies, I go back to what the Joker said in The Dark Knight. Watch these people eat each other.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to happen.
Yes.
They're going to turn this thing on its head, and you're going to get in or get out. And whether it's, who do we talk about? Oklahoma State not wanting to win, or Baylor, or your Virginias of the athletic departments that don't want to win. This nonsense about how North Carolina is going to blow up the ACC. Are you part of the solution, or are you part of the problem?
Mm-hmm.
And if you are the Big 12, can we sit here and just be brutally honest? Take your emotion out of it. Be an analyst for once in your life. Take your emotions out of it. Is the Big 12 part of the solution for college football? When we talk about how do you bring more people into the pot to watch the game, to spend their money, to grow the game of college football, is the ACC part of that solution? Not right now. It's not. When you're allowing SMU to essentially pay their way into your conference, and then they win the conference with no media rights distribution. And that's a cute story. Are you really a viable entity at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any question.
No, the answer is no, you're not.
The member institutions who decided to approve that, you can't tell me they don't regret that decision.
And when you are suing because you said SMU downgrades the brand value, and then they came in and beat wholesale ass and won the conference, and they really didn't run into, but who cares? They won the conference and went to the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you and your crappy quarterback from Clemson were sitting on the sideline watching. Come on now. You can't tell me the Big 12 and the ACC are part of the solution. And until they are, and when I say what would be part of the solution? I need more Kenny Dillinghams. I need more, again, SMUs. Did anybody see what BYU, they took Kansas apart at the joints last night.
Mm-hmm.
BYU dismantled Kansas basketball at the Marriott Center last night. Not close. I need more BYU because BYU is part of what's right in the Big 12. The team that you tried to keep out of that league, the team that you kept out of the Pac-12 because we don't play on Sundays with those weird underpant-wearing people. Yeah, those folks.
Here I am.
Yeah, they're part of what's right in college athletics right now. Hate to break it to you. And I don't care if they're Hindus or Mormons. They're part of what's right. And I don't care what you think of their honor code or they don't play on Sunday. BYU is part of what's right. And until everybody else gets on the Ryan Smith has billions that he's paying the basketball coach and DeBansta and your mom.
Smiles and glory holes.
Get on the Ryan Smith glory hole train. Because as much as that dude has no flipping clue what to do with a pro sports team, apparently he's pretty good at buying cold decaffeinated beverages.
Google me.
Yeah, Google him. That's what's wrong with the rest of the Big 12 and the ACC. And until they're part of the solution, those two conferences are part of the problem.
Yeah.
And I will just sit here and we can try and spin this stuff, man. And I get passionate about making it. And this was the argument Oak State James and I had yesterday, if you call it an argument.
F around and find out.
When you don't do everything that you can do to win, and then your fan base is like, great job giving the coach a pay cut. Whew, man, that quarterback with no experience we got out of the portal, we're blowing the whole world up. You could have stopped it. We're blowing the whole world because that's essentially the glory hole you're living in.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hard part is
Too much.
that fans have a different definition of what, the term doing everything you can to win than those of us who, are frankly not emotional in one way or the other about, Utah or Oklahoma State or whoever you want to point to, and are just sitting here looking at what you did last year and what you're doing in the offseason.
Because what you did 2 years ago doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. Yeah.
So glad you said that for once in your life.
I know.
I was having a conversation with a really, really important person in college football yesterday.
I'm for real.
And you don't have to believe me, and I really, as you probably are aware, don't give a rat's ass if you do. I was talking to a really powerful person in college football yesterday.
Was his first name Greg?
No. So I didn't say the most. I didn't say the most powerful person.
Yeah. Right.
I said a really powerful person. And he made a great point. Nobody cares that Boise State went to the college football playoff. They care that Alabama didn't.
Yeah.
And I think that when this dude said that to me, I was like, it's exactly right.
Again, when we're talking about TV viewership,
exactly right.
And like, the success or, struggles of the college football playoff just as an entity. Yeah, that's facts. Again, it's what Major League Baseball did in the steroid era. Why did they not ban steroids, even though everybody and their mom knew what was going on? Because everybody likes the long ball, dude.
Nobody cares about the health of the player as long as the player's going deep.
Why is golf, not making courses harder? They're just making them longer. Because everybody loves a 350-yard drive, right? Everybody wants the crazy, SEC Big Ten juggernaut matchup in some amazing stadium.
Yes.
Some new age cool stadium situation. Like, that's what people want. It's why baseball is thriving off of the Dodgers being so good and dominating, because it's LA, it's the Dodgers, it's Ice Cube in the World Series. Like that's why that stuff does so well. Do
you agree with the notion that people cared more about Alabama not getting in than Boise getting in?
Yeah, I mean, I watched when I was watching the Boise State game, I I said, like, dude, like, this is the problem with the college football playoff right now. Boise State has no business being on this football field with Penn State. You just like, with all due respect, like, I'm not saying again, and we went through this phase on the program. Y'all remember when Boise State fan was here and calling us stupid, and we went through the natural cycle.
You guys
of
just
life.
hate us because you hate us,
right? Yeah.
Ashton Genty's the best
right?
college football player anybody's ever seen.
So I absolutely agree.
Outside of Ollie Gordon,
that in the small little pond known as Boise, that yes, everyone wants to talk about Boise State, but nationally, in the room, everyone cares that Alabama didn't get in. That was the conversation. So I'm sitting here watching Pedo State play the Smurf turf, and I'm like, yeah, dude, man, this game doesn't have any heat, mainly because Abdul Carter is absolutely roasting that offensive line.
wrecking.
Like, I don't need to watch. The problem is I don't need to watch that game to know the outcome of that game.
We didn't need to watch the SMU game.
Yeah.
We didn't need to.
But if it was Bama, Penn State, okay, now
we're watching.
Game. Now we got a ball game.
Yeah. That was just a real light bulb moment for me.
And again, we're not saying Boise State sucks. That's
not at
the
all.
point. That's
not
not
at all.
what we're saying.
But when it's really interesting, and again, in the vein of things you probably don't care about, when you talk to people in power who make these decisions, and they say things like, nobody cared about Boise State getting in. Everyone cared about Alabama being left out.
That's a great point.
It's just like, what?
I don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide, baby.
How did I not realize that? And the answer is because you're not the one who's making decisions on life or death of college football.
Yeah.
We're sitting here talking about the people making the decisions and the decisions that they make. But that's why they make all that money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is remarkable. Anyway, Sergeant Morhew, I'm dreaming, but what if everyone outside of the Power 2 made their own playoff league and left the Power 2 excluded to put them in their place? It doesn't work that way.
I don't live in a what if scenario.
And frankly, if the Power 2 were having a football championship game and everybody else, and it was who are the biggest brands? The number one brand in the ACC is
last year was Miami.
Okay, Miami. Number one brand in the Big 12 is
I would say Arizona State was the number one brand at the end of the year.
Okay, fair enough. Miami and Arizona State are playing, or best team in the SEC is
Texas.
Texas, best team in the Big 10 is
Ohio State.
Texas and Ohio State are playing, and Arizona State and Miami are playing the exact same time for a championship. I'm not watching anything but Texas and Ohio State. I'm not watching the other game.
Yeah, I mean,
and you're not watching the other game.
You know, I think the interesting part about that point, because I don't disagree. If they were playing at the same time, I'd obviously be watching the Longhorns. But I think that the interesting point is that, hey, like, we have the luxury of being able to watch both games during that time of year because of how it's all structured. And that's the hard part is that, you know, again, in the Big 12, you don't have the luxury of saying, hey, yeah, Texas is playing whoever, you know, like.
I'll go back to my former boss, Tim Brando, the CBS, the voice of CBS.
Yeah.
Why was Tim Brando pissed off every winter when he would go from the lead college football desk at CBS Sports, where he's leading, you know, college football today and all that stuff, and they would take him from that and put him into the championship game of Division II. Because nobody cares about the championship game of the second tier.
Yeah.
That's why he was pissed. And that's who we are. That's who we are.
Yeah.
Brandon Butler, a member of the show for 25 months.
Okay.
No matter the sport, chicks still dig the long ball.
That's what
yes,
I'm
they
saying,
do.
Dude. Like,
I
look,
agree 100%.
Across sports. And again, perfect example. USA, Canada, right? Why do we all care about that? Why is that? Like, if I said to you, hey, there's a random, you know, Olympic-esque hockey game happening tomorrow night, like, you know, USA,
Slovakia and Brazil are playing in hockey.
Right? Like, oh no, it's USA Canada, and it's all the names from the NHL on Team Canada, and it's the boys from the USA who shouldn't really have a chance. But yet we all watch. Why do we all watch? Again, okay, let me dial that back. We don't all watch golf. Let me dial that back, right? Why do those of us who golf love to watch golf? Because we can relate and we want to hit 340-yard drives. That's why. Like, we want the big deal. Like,
I'll just go back to what I always say. We all want the biggest names in the biggest stages playing for the biggest trophy.
yeah, it's why Live and the PGA need to merge again.
Yes, and it's why the Super Bowl does so well, and it's why
Yeah.
the championship game does so well. Because I don't care if you're an Ohio State or a Notre Dame fan, you're watching that game. But that is not at all, in any way, shape, or form, what determines success or failure or health or unhealth in the bigger picture of football. How did the division rounds do? How did the home games do? Almost nobody is watching the NBA. The All-Star game was a joke.
And LeBron James is partially responsible.
So don't sit here and tell me that, oh, well, hey, Monty, the All-Star game was amazing and the NBA Finals had huge numbers. The All-Star game wasn't amazing, and the championship game's always going to have big numbers.
That's bullshit.
Anyway, let's run through it. Jay-Bird, good morning to you. Great. We'll have 8 and 4 and 7 and 5 teams from the SEC and the Big Ten in the playoff. How exciting for college football.
But again, those teams are better than SMU and Boise State, with all due respect.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is. I think it's one of those things where you just have no way to stop it, because it's what we need. It's what we as college football it's the heroin directly injected into our veins.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Okay,
what
it's
it
a hell of
is.
a drug.
Happy birthday to my wonderful sister, and Monty too, and they're both Pisces. Do you know, I've gotten 3 text messages this morning calling me an Aquarius. Stop it. I am not an Aquarius. Today is my birthday, February 19th. It's day 1 of being a Pisces. Do not slander me by calling me an Aquarius. Just stop
Those
it.
statements are not true, and I ask that you strike them.
Losers. Smash the numbers. Hello, Ferris. Jay Chapman, big rivalry is a factor as well. I would agree with that.
Yes.
G. Lee, good to see you. Eric Wasikowski from Jupe. He now lives in Florida. And state rivals are always going to get more views.
Really, that's why nobody cares about Michigan State?
Come
on.
Why watch a small screen when most TVs are 65 and above these days?
100%.
100%. Damian Fowler, hello, my friend. Happy birthday, you old fat and dying SEC MWC Big 12 homer Mormon. Thank you.
You're a homer is the first part.
This is an AAC show, if you could get it right,
Right.
Damian. I hope 2 holes got you. Who's 2 holes?
Yeah, who's 2 holes?
Stay hard.
You mean 2 shakes?
Thank you.
I hope 2 holes got you a birthday cake. He didn't give
2
me
holes.
anything.
Bro, dude, don't run this out. Like,
Don't start.
we just forgot
Stop
you
it.
didn't say happy birthday till after the show this year. You didn't say happy birthday till after the show this year. You don't remember that?
What did I get you for your birthday?
Some Cobes.
Yeah. Fucking asshole.
Well, you were too busy shaking it over there to get me anything for my birthday. What the hell?
I think he turns 50. No, 50. Slow down.
Dude, stop, bro.
Slow down.
Dude is not 54 and he's not an Aquarius. Like, come on.
I am a Pisces I am 52 years old. February 19th, 1973. My social security number, never mind. The point is.
Click on this link to redeem your birthday gift, Monty.
It's fine. Brand matters. Yes, it does. So no more AP poke. Hey, I hope the AP poll dies a quick, swift death. At least in college football. Come on. Donald Trump will fix Live Golf, but you can't fix the AP poll.
Can we get Doja on the AP poll?
Yeah, jeez. Anyway, no. I'm not playing your game.
Monties.
Strength of schedule's a joke because anybody can beat can be beat on any Saturday. Totally true. The SEC is overrated and the Big Ten is overrated.
I don't agree with that, dude.
Yeah, I agree. Rock and rant. All your points are right, but also irrelevant.
Oh, wow.
SEC and Big already have the majority vote percentage control. They do. They will do what they want. I totally agree, which is what we said. In long run, Sankey forgets pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered.
What are you, a poet?
Ooh. That's really well done, Rock and Rant. Those with the gold make the rules. What are you? You know, what is that? What's the name of that movie? With Kurt Russell. Big problems in big problems in Little China. Is that what it is?
No idea.
Something like that. You know, Ryan Day is just gonna rest his starters now for quote the game. With any luck, he can.
Okay, next comment, dude.
Mike Smith. Only thing you can do is to make it the college football playoff and try to run the gauntlet. That's it. That's all you can do. Seth, who makes hats.
Seth.
Hello, Seth. I don't buy it. The college football playoff is taking away people's hopes, and they have no buy-in. That's my take. I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Everybody thought, and maybe the comment section should regain their violent movements this morning on this. I think everybody thought the college football playoff was the cure-all, right? It was the adrenaline shot to the heart of college football. I think it was the opposite. I think I go back, if you're just tuning into the show, welcome, good morning. Please hit the like button here on the Monty Show, presented by the Advocates at theadvocates.com. The SEC and the Big Ten are meeting in New Orleans today, and I think it is the beginning of the end for college football. Unless they are going to move to a Super League model. Because, and again, I go back to the great Stuart Mandel, who I think if you are not reading Stuart Mandel at The Athletic, you are a fool. Read the last paragraph. Leaders of the two leagues are meeting this week in New Orleans, where they're expected to push forward with a full-on takeover of the college football playoff. The field would expand to 14 or 16, and the Power 2 would grant themselves 4 automatic berths. That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying. And I just don't know. I don't know how college football recovers from that. I don't know that there is.
No, there isn't.
Because I think we all thought, well, the college football playoff, Monty, we're going to have Appy State going to the big house and beating Michigan.
You know.
You couldn't even beat the pedophiles. An average-ass Penn State team. Dismantled SMU and Boise State. You're the dream of, again, Utah and as the original BCS buster. That's never happening again. We're not going to have Tarleton State, for all my Texans, running the table and winning the college football playoff. That's not happening. Does that mean that Memphis can win a national championship in college basketball? Yes. San Diego State, the pro rata you deserve? Yes.
Man, they are never going to get past that.
In college football, there is no pro rata that you deserve.
Facts.
Because Greg Sankey doesn't think you deserve anything other than nothing. It doesn't work that way in college football. And the college football playoff wasn't the dream maker that we all thought it would be.
Yeah.
Because it was... The college football was hopes and dreams, right? The reality was it was a strong arm robbery dressed as hopes and dreams, disguised as hopes and dreams. Oh, the G5 seat at the table.
Yeah.
Do you know? Do you know? And I'm not sure that it is. Ferris Khan. Hope you have a super deluxe birthday, Monty. Thank you, sir. Going to be in Southern California soon.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what week we will take off. Because we need a week of stuff. 12 teams are fine. We don't need college football expansion. We don't need it.
But again, who are you a fan of? Baylor fan. I got news for you, Baylor fan, with all due respect. Your opinion's not valued in the college football playoff room.
Your opinion isn't in the college football playoff room. Because you can't, and it's what Gloria Navarro said yesterday. We have a voice in the room, but we don't have a vote.
Yeah.
Because they don't. Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti are going to make the decision, and you're going to deal with it. You're going to take your cough syrup, right? Eric Wasikowski, Big Ten SEC Schedule Alliance coming. He told us 6 months ago.
Wow, man, if you told us.
Man, if
gosh.
only we had listened. If only we had listened. Welcome to the nightmare. Never a more appropriate name. 12 teams was a good amount, and if they stay at that number or go to 14, 16, tweaks definitely are needed. Absolutely. The bye weeks, I think bye weeks are this cool, neat thing where, we can rest and recover. They're crippling. NFL, college football playoff, none of the bye week teams won.
Yeah.
You don't need a bye week, in my opinion. Big Papa War Machine. I'd like the Big 12, ACC, and the G5 to stand up for themselves and just go to their own playoff. But and this is something that I think is talked about regularly. How does that work in a way that benefits everybody?
Well, you know what I'm going to go to, and it's the great equalizer, private money. If you said, hey, Gloria and, Impernetti and, again, if the Pac-12 makes it all the way back, Teresa.
Why do we never hear from Tim Pernetti?
I don't know.
Commissioner of the AAC.
We don't hear from him a ton, but my point is that if the commissioners in the G5 got together and said, hey, we're going to go ahead and create our own CFP, if you will, whatever it would be called, I have no idea, but our own playoff model, and we're gonna basically fund that with private money, and we're gonna do exactly what the CFP does, just at our level. I don't see why that can't be created.
Of the $126 million that is distributed here on this screenshot, 20, 40, 60, $72 million went to the SEC and the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame, who is not part of either, but makes up a part of both. 70. I said $72 million out of 126, more than half. And if they go to 4 each, it's going to be more than that. So this is utopic. But again, and you're going to hear from Ed Scott here in 5 minutes, I promise you, because we got to talk about Memphis and maybe this bite today is relevant to this conversation on the whole. Like, if you listen to Dr. Ed Scott talk about life in the Pac-12, let's say he's talking about the Pac-12 and the college football playoff and being a P4. In light of the Big Ten and the SEC taking 8 spots, 8 out of, let's pretend, 14. Listen to what Dr. Ed Scott said on 92.9 The Game in Memphis.
Normally, I wouldn't have put all that business in the streets. Not my style to do all that. You guys had information. Other media outlets had information about that deal that, frankly, probably shouldn't have been out there. And so a couple months into your point, I needed to be able to let folks know why we didn't do it. It was strictly numbers, right? There's nothing more to it. The deal was not any better per cap, meaning what we get currently from the American to what we needed to go out to the Pac-12, considering the increased travel and some of those other things. Look, if you're talking about football or basketball, guys, let's cut to the chase to your point. They charter. They travel differently. Brooks, right? Women's soccer. That guy's is the most winningest coach that I have in the entire portfolio of our entire athletic department. I'm going to put him on a 2-stop flight to Pullman, Washington, right? And then maybe have to cut his budget because we're not going to have the same disposable income. I'll say it this way so the average person can understand this. It's not how much money you make. It's how much money you have left after you pay your bills, right? You can make $1 million in L.A. and spend $900,000. Well, you got $100,000 left.
Right.
You can make $1 million in Memphis, Tennessee with no state tax, which I don't, by the way, but you could make that much and you have a lot more disposable income.
Right.
So it just didn't put us in a position where I felt like we could continue our ascension, for all of our sports, because I'm the AD for all of those young people and those coaches as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Again and again, over and over. Yes, it's not what you make. It's what you make minus what you spend. That's the net. Let's make a league where we tell the Big Ten and the SEC to pound sand. We're doing our own thing. What's your net on that? Yes. Put all those comments right there from Dr. Ed Scott, the athletic director at Memphis, 92.9 The Game in Memphis, is where he said that. It's not what you make, it's what you net. Right? It makes no sense. You've got to find a way to force Sankey and Petiti to come to the table, which you're never going to be able to do.
Yeah.
You're going to have to find a way to make yourself irreplaceable. And I'm sorry to be redundant. If you have heard me say this one of the 10,000 times, you better do everything you can do to win games. At some point, it has to matter. Stanford is in the ACC because they don't win games. And I used to disagree with you on this, and I don't anymore. Because the reason that the Big Ten, who's got back-to-back national championships, has more money than everybody else is because they have huge TV audiences who care because their biggest brands win championships. The reason the SEC has all the money is because they win championships. So when we talk about Stillwater and Waco and Fort Worth and Dallas,
Lubbock,
Utah, Salt Lake City, you talk about all these towns.
Boulder.
Those are towns. The Big Ten and the SEC are in the city because they win championships. And if that's never been more clear to you, I don't know that it will ever be more clear to you, because I just don't think you want it to be.
And I would also, to that point, I'd also add that the other thing you got to understand here is, geographically speaking, the West Coast isn't doing anyone any favors.
No, they're not. I want to go to Bennigan's. I made a reservation last night before we get to Dr. Ed Scott on the Monty Show, presented by Prize Picks, prizepicks.com. Download the app, use the promo code Monty. Get a $5. You deposit $5, they'll give you 50 more instantly. The single greatest daily fantasy prop I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You deposit $5, they'll give you 50 more instantly at Prize Picks when you open up a new account. I made a reservation last night at Gibson Steakhouse in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I bought tickets to the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. But you know what I didn't buy tickets to? And they're home against the Portland Trail Blazers.
Yep.
I didn't buy tickets to the Chicago Bulls.
And I commend you for this.
And why didn't I buy tickets to the Chicago Bulls, Jake?
So they're terrible.
They're flipping awful.
What are you going there for? Now, the Hawks, I can understand. The Bulls.
I'm not supporting the Chicago Bulls for not trading Lonzo Ball when they had a deal on the table for 2 first-round picks, and they turned it down. Right? Call me a sucker. I'm a Chicago Cubs season ticket holder. Be that as it may.
The Cubs are different.
Yeah, they are the fiber in my colon, right?
Dude.
Like they are just my existence.
Yeah.
But at some point, we have to get on board with the fact that fans who are passionate about your brand are spending their money in other places.
Hard-earned money, dude.
They're spending it in other places. And until college football gets on board with that, Joe, good morning, Joey Z. Sankey trying to kneecap Cinderellas, 100%.
But again, Cinderellas don't exist in college football.
Right, but there's nobody in the Big Ten or the SEC. And what do you mean by Cinderellas? There's nobody in the Big Ten or the SEC that thinks Boise should have gotten a bye week or been in the college football playoff.
And I'm not convinced most just fans outside of the city of Boise think that they should have gotten that AQ.
Nope. Thank you, Eric, my fellow Pisces. When's your birthday? There do be other Baylor fans here. I seen it.
Okay.
There are. Shout out my guy Patrick Bourne. Baylor has a great fan base. Our guy Oak State James is a closeted Baylor fan for whatever reason.
TCU, Tech, the Chiefs,
the Kansas City Chiefs.
The rumors and sources tell me that he's going to be a BYU fan here in a few weeks. So
It's fine. And Donuts, can college football support another league? I don't think they can. UW fan Jim, not a fan of the show, but a fan of UW.
The day that made two shakes possible.
Indeed. Could have left you on the shag
wow,
carpet.
Dude.
But I didn't.
Wow, bro.
Yormark failed to call Sankey's bluff last year. Time to pay your tab, boys. Well, you don't. He doesn't have the power to call his bluff.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is who you should be pissed at, because Notre Dame curries favor in this country, and had power and gave it up to get an automatic qualifier every year.
Mm-hmm.
So, watching a playoff without the Big Ten or the SEC would be like watching the NIT. Tough to argue that. All right, a couple more, and then we got to get to this Memphis thing. Ryan Dooley. He drives a Dooley.
Dooley.
I bet you are a diesel truck Dooley. No, you're not. Can the group band together and fight this? I don't think so. Because you're bringing a knife to a gunfight at that point.
Yeah.
Right? You're bringing a knife to a gunfight. And I don't know that there's a win in that. I don't know that there's a win in that. And not to pick a scab here, but okay, if we're the Big 12, who's the power player in the Big 12? There's not one. And right now, I could argue the best athletic program in the Big 12 is BYU. And I don't think I'd get much of a pushback.
Yeah.
Because when I look at the way BYU's performing, I kid you not, they absolutely dismantled Kansas last night. Oh, but Marty, Kansas, I don't care. No, but Marty's.
Yeah.
Right? They dismantled Kansas last night. Absolutely dismantled them. And tell me again, and a lot of people like to compare Gonzaga and BYU.
I'm sorry, who?
Gonzaga.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to compare Gonzaga to BYU.
Gonzaga.
BYU didn't take the easy route out. Did they go from the WCC to the Pac-12? No. They jumped out of the frying pan into the inferno of the Big 12 in basketball, and they dismantled Kansas last night. And they're spending the money that allows them to dismantle Kansas last night.
Yeah, KY is doing a great job, along with Danny Smith.
Recruiting, money, building, facilities, boosters.
Yeah.
Who's got it better than us right now? Well, everybody but BYU. Because BYU's got it better than everybody. And here I sit as Notre Dame, a Notre Dame fan. Do we have a basketball team, either gender, at Notre Dame?
No, you guys are a hockey school. Come on.
Jesus. You're not even joking. I'm looking forward to the Super League. I just hope that the new subdivision doesn't fade into obscurity.
Yeah, it depends how they sell it, dude.
Because 9 out of 10 G5s cannot afford to compete in a Super League. And I think that might include Boise. The real weakness of living in Fort Worth is half the people talk to me about TCU. The other half talk to me about Texas. I live in a nightmare. Oh, that's got to be terrible.
I'm a vampire feeding off mass disappointment.
Hey, guys. Texas is back, bro.
Guys. Did you get the Bucky sandwich at the stadium?
Doug Salisbury steak. How many people say? You must punch
a lot of new
people.
names today.
You must punch people in the face routinely. Hey, Dougie Salisbury steak.
I'll drop that motherfucker.
And I wouldn't blame you. And it's not just a 2-flight trip to all those teams. Most of those schools are at least an hour on a bus to the nearest commercial airport.
Yes.
The Palouse is far. Eric Wasikowski, you shut your mouth. I am really excited about USA and Canada tomorrow night. Do you guys understand I rescheduled my golf lesson? I was supposed to get a haircut tomorrow night.
No.
Four Nations championship game. Can't do it. Joe says, can't really count anyone out with NIL leveling the playing field over the years.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
Who's a mid-table? Memphis. Air Force. Fresno State.
Wow.
Okay.
Dude, I swear to God.
Can you guys please contribute to the show?
Like, on YouTube. You can set a goal for donations. We might need to set one for a new TV.
Okay. I bought a 60-inch Samsung TV. And I don't know. It's broken. I've had it 2 years and it is broken. And listen, everybody ain't able. And that includes me. I'm not buying, I refuse to buy a new TV.
Why?
Because it pisses me off that a Samsung 60-inch is broken already.
After 2 years.
And here's the problem. Does it turn on? Not when I ask it to. Not when I ask it to. And when it turns on its own accord, who are you, Greg Sankey of TVs? It shows me Dawson's Creek, and I can't change the channel. I'm stuck on Dawson's Creek. I can't change the channel.
What, Sonny and Crockett weren't available?
Crockett and Tubbs, you prick. And it turns on when it wants to. It turns on when it wants
And
to.
it won't load YouTube TV.
And it will only show me Dawson's Creek.
Please.
Why Dawson's Creek?
Bro.
Was Chips not available?
Dude.
Why Dawson's Creek? I lose testosterone just watching that show.
Bro.
Like, yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it is. So I ask you, get in the tip jar. It's my birthday. It is my birthday today.
Yeah.
Donate. Get us a new TV. Damn it. Dawson's Creek.
That's the best you could do, bro.
Noel Ramirez, happy birthday at Bennigan's after the show. See, he gets it. Whatever. Say it, Monty. BYU curb stomp Kansas. Took them apart at the joints, dude.
Yeah, we already said it, bro.
Took them apart at the joints. It's ridiculous. Only AJ DeBansta comes in. The sky is the limit. I'm telling you. You can joke. But, you know, yeah, UW fan Jim. I do think it's the old lady in the shadows.
Dude, honestly.
Why is it that every studio we've built has been haunted? Somebody explain it to me. We had the cats banging each other in the Maverick Center and the door opening on its own. I've got like this old lady in my studio. We just built this custom studio. Big dollars, great equipment, best equipment we've ever had. And now the stupid TV doesn't work. Damn it. Locked in parental. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Right.
And it will not turn on. We've unplugged it. Hey, man, did you unplug it? And
I love that.
hey, man. Hey, IT guy, my computer doesn't work.
Dude.
Hey, bro, did you restart it? No, I didn't. That's not the first effing thing I thought.
Well,
hey, what,
that's the issue, isn't it?
did you unplug it? Yes, I unplugged it. Anyway. It's James driving by your house with a universal remote. It probably is.
That must be what it is.
The TV I won still works. Yeah, Mike Chase won a TV from us, and it works better than the one I have.
Yeah, no duh.
Love me some Pacey and Joey romance. Why? Dawson's Creek. Of all shows.
Dude.
Can't turn it off either. Can't turn it off. Matt Ritson, I would get a Roku TV. Roku's great. Great point, Tanner. Exactly right. Tanner's amazing. Mike Smith. Samsung is punishing you for your iPhone love. They are. It feels alone in the world. Sounds like Monty is up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. See what he did there?
I just can't believe we couldn't get it to turn on today. And then it turns on, an hour and 20 minutes into the program to Dawson's Creek.
On Dawson's Creek.
Come on, dude. Like,
What?
we can't do better.
What? No Little House on the Prairie reruns?
Like, my God.
Three's Company?
No.
Growing Pains? Family Ties?
Terrible.
You can't get no Family Ties?
Terrible, bro.
Can't get no Cheers? 8 is Enough wasn't available. We had to watch Dawson's Creek. What? 90210 is not happening today? Tape machine broke?
Come on.
Monty, you don't look a day over 21. Thanks. We have a goal. We have an hour and 55 minutes. Come on, let's go. Super chat that thing up. Buy us a new TV. Tanner, I'm calling it now. BYU to defeat Arizona in the McHale Center, guaranteed. Okay. Vlad, Kristmanov. Hey, Kuzmanov.
Hey, Kuzmanov.
Where's
Please
Kuzmanov?
bless us with your great insights.
Where's Kuzmanov from?
I don't know. God damn it. I have no idea.
Where's Kuzmanov from? Yes, the Waltons. Can we get the Waltons? Somebody getting injured down at the mill, please? Vlad the Destroyer. You guys are stuck in the past. The future will be the best teams. The Super League will be a paradigm shift.
Well, man.
Could be. If I had a broken TV and it only played Breaking Bad, I would be in heaven. But it's Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, that's the problem, dude.
My Samsung is stuck on the Romance Channel. I've seen so many Tyler Perry films.
Smiles and glory holes.
I need cable knit sweaters and kisses on the cheek. Anyway, the Hallmark. Oh my God. I don't want to wait for our lives to be over. Non-Big Ten SEC teams trying to flex their way to playoff prowess. Good luck with that. UW fan Jim, Hail Mary, try holding down the power button after it's unplugged. Drain the residual. We did.
Okay, dude. This is a family show, bro.
The power button's underneath the... We did. We did what we did.
Yeah.
You take the good, you take the bad, and there you have the facts of life. The facts of life. Hey, Joe. God, you guys remember the facts of life? WKRP. The Waltons. Fat. Jesus. At least it wasn't Full House. Cut it out. See what he did there? Sal Capone. How well did it turn out for BYU in Utah? Arizona over BYU Saturday. Well, we'll see. Hallmark, more like Hellmark. Ryan Dooley, did you call Samsung customer no service? No. I put in my serial number online this morning, not covered under warranty. Steely, different strokes. Yes. Dude, butchered my Dawson's Creek reference. I did. I don't want to wait for our lives to be over.
See what he did there.
I don't want to wait for our lives to be over. Airwolf. You said Airwolf. What about Dynasty? MacGyver? Spencer for Hire? Airwolf or my personal favorite, Fix Everything with Duct Tape MacGyver. Yes. Buy that TV from Costco next time, covered for 3 years. Yeah, I bought it on Amazon. It's the lyrics from the song. I know.
Dude, bro. Come on, dude. Well, Monty, it's Jim Rome, not Roma Dunze. There's a difference.
All right, let's piss everybody off. New hot take machine. The great radio wizard of the Northwest has a new hot take that says Memphis and Tulane are going to be added to the Pac-12. Dr. Ed Scott, the athletic director at Memphis, who is on the record saying they got a bad deal, went on 92.9 The Game in Memphis and said,
I don't live in a what-if scenario, right? Gotta be there. Look, we got to beat Tulane tonight. You want to talk to me about the Pac-12? I want to talk to Penny about Neon Light Night at Tulane and how he's going to win that game. My worry is what's in front of me. If you look backwards, you get depressed. If you look forwards in the future, you get anxiety. I live where my feet are planted, guys, and I got to win today, right? And because if I don't, you're going to talk about that tomorrow. Absolutely. Right? So I just take it one step at a time. If the Pac-12 were to come back to us, we'd listen. We'd continue to do our due diligence for the University of Memphis. I have to. It's incumbent upon me. I'm paid well to do that. And you heard in the Calkins interview, I care about Memphis first. I came here for a reason. This is not about Ed Scott.
So apparently,
allegedly,
the great radio wizard in the Northwest got another one completely wrong, because he's reporting they're coming to the Pac-12. And it turns out Dr. Ed Scott said right there on 92.9 The Game in Memphis, they don't have another offer. And they have not come back to them to make another offer. And if that wasn't enough, I think this is one of the most insightful, intelligent, well thought out, well spoken mantras, if you will, diatribes, if you will, about the plight of teams that are being offered membership in the Pac-12. And the question that I have asked repeatedly about AAC members joining the Pac-12, why on earth would you put your secondary sports, stick and balls, track and field, soccer, lacrosse, swimming, if you're in Memphis, Tennessee, New Orleans, Louisiana, Tampa, Florida, why on earth do you want them to go to Pullman, Washington and have to take multiple flights and coach to get there?
Normally, I wouldn't have put all that business in the streets. Not my style to do all that. You guys had information. Other media outlets had information about that deal that, frankly, probably shouldn't have been out there. And so a couple months into your point, I needed to be able to let folks know why we didn't do it. It was strictly numbers, right? There's nothing more to it. The deal was not any better per cap, meaning what we get currently from the American to what we needed to go out to the Pac-12, considering the increased travel and some of those other things. Look, if you're talking about football or basketball, guys, let's cut to the chase to your point. They charter. They travel differently. Brooks, right? Women's soccer. That guy's is the most winningest coach that I have in the entire portfolio of our entire athletic department. I'm going to put him on a 2-stop flight to Pullman, Washington, right? And then maybe have to cut his budget because we're not going to have the same disposable income. I'll say it this way so the average person can understand this. It's not how much money you make. It's how much money you have left after you pay your bills, right? You can make $1 million in L.A. and spend $900,000. Well, you got $100,000 left.
Right.
You can make $1 million in Memphis, Tennessee with no state tax, which I don't, by the way, but you could make that much and you have a lot more disposable income.
Right.
So it just didn't put us in a position where I felt like we could continue our ascension, for all of our sports, because I'm the AD for all of those young people and those coaches as well.
It didn't make sense then, and it doesn't make sense now. And I know that Pac-12 fan comes in here routinely and says, we don't know what we're talking about. What did I tell you about the Pac-12's offer to Memphis previously from people directly involved in that situation? They got lowballed. They were going to lose money. If they had taken the offer that the Pac-12 made to the AAC, they would have lost money, right? We all agree that we have said that on this show.
Yeah.
You want to know how we know that now? How about Sports Illustrated yesterday? The Pac-12 was only willing to cover $2.5 million of the $27 million per school exit fee in the AAC.
Now, wait, where have we seen this before? Right? This is somehow not familiar? No, this is exactly what the Pac-12 does. They try to take your team and they don't want to pay the exit fee.
That's remarkable.
We've heard this before.
And you look at this, Teresa Gould and the Pac-12 members extended an invite to Memphis, Tulane, Memphis, USF, and UTSA that the 4 schools turned down last fall. And why? Why did they turn down that offer? What was the issue?
If y'all haven't seen the latest reports of what's going on between the Mountain West and the Pac 6, 7 right now, this is a fluid situation, right? So that's the other thing. When we talk about the decision that was made by the University of Memphis to not join the PAC, as I like to call them right now at this time, that was not a binary decision. That was not a no, we're not ever going anywhere. That was based on the offer that was presented in front of us, that we're not taking that offer because we don't think less of ourselves. And I came here for a reason. You heard me in the press conference. You've heard me in any interview I've done. I'm bullish on Memphis's future. And so I think sometimes we get enamored by the new and we want to take a bad deal. And that deal was not a good deal for the University of Memphis. It certainly wasn't a good deal for our athletic department. And most importantly, it was a really, really bad deal for our Olympic sports.
And I'm just going to continue to tell you the same thing that I have said consistently and routinely as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
There's no logic that covers the expense of being Memphis and flying to Pullman, Washington, Corvallis, Oregon, Fresno, California. There's no logic there because, as Dr. Ed Scott said, and I'd also like to say, I'm telling you now, this is a future leader of all college athletics. Dr. Ed Scott. And if you have not heard it, go listen to his spot on 92.9 The Game in Memphis. We've listened to the whole thing.
Yeah, it was epic.
It was unbelievable. It was.
I mean, legitimately, like, we're listening to it, and I'm like, dude, like, this guy is a line machine. I mean, this guy, like, is
he understands.
Some people, I like to characterize some people as, like, advanced thinkers, like higher level thinkers. And he's definitely one of those people. He understands the ins and outs, understands what a good deal and a bad deal for Memphis is. And I would also point out, he's very passionate about doing the job itself.
All he cares about is Memphis athletics.
That's it.
And I think when you do the math, there's no financial equation that says Memphis, Tulane, USF, even UTSA should on a regular basis send their athletes to the far reaches of the West Coast. Because trust me when I say Pullman, Washington is not Los Angeles.
Right.
Pullman, Washington is not ideal. Corvallis, Oregon, Fresno, California is not ideal. And the bigger issue is it's not the cost of coach class travel on commercial flights. How many times have I told you? And people don't believe me when I say it. Football and basketball, charter. We've talked about this on the show, and you just heard an athletic director confirm it.
Yeah.
They don't fly charter for the swimming team.
Oh.
And a lot of schools don't charter their basketball teams. So the toll it takes an entire day of flying from Memphis to Pullman or Corvallis, I'm not interested in that because you're losing money on it. And let's say somebody said to me yesterday, well, what if, and I'm not in the what if game, right? I think, and I tell you that all the time, we don't guess or play what if.
I don't live in a what if scenario.
What if the Pac-12 got that $10 to $12 million per school deal? Well, the what ifs don't matter. What is reality? I think it's likely $6 to $8 million. That's not a better deal for Memphis.
No.
That's not a better deal for Tulane or USF. And would USF, Tulane, Memphis, and UTSA make the Pac-12 the best G5 league in the country? By a long shot. That's a home run. If it was just pen to paper, you'd do it. But it makes no sense for anybody but the Pac-12 because they're not willing to cover the $27 million exit fee. They're not willing to cover. How are you getting out of the grant of rights that you agreed to in the AAC? You got to pay. Why is UNLV? And I know I'm stupid. Don't have sources. Trust me, bro. Everybody says that. What did Gloria Navarez confirm on this show yesterday? They have a grant of rights that is rock solid. It's modeled after the Big 12 and the ACC. Oh, but Monty, look at all the podcasters and the great wizard in the Northwest saying UNC is leaving the ACC. Let me ask you, what is it that you think the UNC is going to be able to do that the other clubs couldn't get together and do? Take it with a grain of salt when you hear that stuff and ask yourself, what's the reality of Memphis joining the Pac-12? It is not a win-win situation financially in a for-profit business, which college athletics is. And the money, then you take the total equation, the money and the equation of what that kind of travel and what that kind of schedule does to student athletes and administrators. You don't want anything to do with that. Because Teresa Gould doesn't have to take those flights from Memphis to the Palouse. Ed Scott at Memphis has to watch out for his student athletes, and he is. And when you look at the Pac-12, There's not a financial model. And I don't even know that it works. If they covered $27 million of the exit fee for every school and then said, hey, here's $6 to $7 million, $6 to $8 million per year, does that financial model still work? It's a lot more doable. But how willing are you to put your swim team or your soccer team through multiple stopovers on commercial flights, taking them probably full days out of education, and then you got to pay more academic advisors, more tutors, more infrastructure, more technology, more mental health counseling, more training table. What is the win-loss ratio here? So I say all of that. I understand the Pac-12 needs to expand. Your first target should be Sacramento State. And I know, Pac-12 fan, you hate that. But that's the right thing to do. And at some point, we have to get out of this lunacy where we're always reaching for the brass ring because we're going to bury the Mountain West. Well, congratulations, you buried the Mountain West. Now what? Because you're not going to thrive. If you put Memphis, Tulane, and USF in that league, and the money is $6 to $8 million a year, you're not going to thrive. There's no quotient equation, Pythagorean theorem that gets you into $6 to $8 million helps Memphis thrive in the Pac-12.
Facts.
It just doesn't add up. Do the math, right? You look at what Memphis basketball is right now. Memphis basketball is on the rise. Memphis football is on the rise. Why are you going to put yourself in financial risk? Because you're going to pay lawyers. You leave the AAC, you're getting involved in a lawsuit. Because they're not just going to say, okay, here you go. Here are your TV rights and your media rights. Go ahead on to the Pac-12. They're not going to do that. And you're going to sue them, and you're going to try and do what they're doing in the Mountain West, and let's reduce our exit fees. How is that a route to prosperity if you're Memphis? How is that a route to prosperity if you're Tulane? And look at Tulane's community, New Orleans. And Memphis and New Orleans are not dissimilar. Are those communities where revenue and money is plentiful and we've got a huge budget and we can? No, they're not. They're not. You are talking about athletic programs who have not won or thrived in many years. UNLV the same. And now all of a sudden you're asking them, if you believe Sports Illustrated, you asked Memphis to pay $24.5 million. Pay at a minimum $24.5 million to join your league. That was the proposition you made to them. Hey, okay, why don't you guys pay $24.5 million to get out of your deal, your exit fee in the AAC? Why don't you pay $24.5 million and then send your secondary sports on multi-leg commercial flights to come to Washington State and Oregon State? Sound like a deal? Okay, great. Let's do it. By whose math does that make sense?
Nobody's.
So this is where we are. And take your emotion out of it. This is where we are with the Pac-12. Turn your attention to Sac State. Because that's who you need. It's not who you want. It's who you need. And you don't right now, because the conference fell apart and you've routinely, in my opinion, made poor business decisions. You don't get to do what you want anymore. Now we have to adult. We have to be grown-ups, and we have to do what we have to do. You got to do what you got to do, and that is adding Sacramento State.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I think that all the people saying that, the Pac-12 is out here offering some great deal are mistaken. And again, like, take your emotion out of it type deal. I just don't think that the offering from the Pac-12 is attractive. It's not good enough. It's not. There's no way to feel good about it.
None.
And not only is the deal not good enough, the uncertainty about the future is clear. Like, you have no idea what that conference is going to be.
I want Pac-12 fans at some point. I want you to feel like you're whole. But until you do, and I'm going to play the bite again, and you're probably already sick of hearing it. Please listen to every word that Dr. Ed Scott says here, because it is profound. It is important. It is exactly what we've been preaching on this show for 2 years. Common sense has to be the rule of the day.
Normally, I wouldn't have put all that business in the streets. Not my style to do all that. You guys had information. Other media outlets had information about that deal that, frankly, probably shouldn't have been out there. And so a couple months into your point, I needed to be able to let folks know why we didn't do it. It was strictly numbers, right? There's nothing more to it. The deal was not any better per cap, meaning what we get currently from the American to what we needed to go out to the Pac-12, considering the increased travel and some of those other things. Look, if you're talking about football or basketball, guys, let's cut to the chase to your point. They charter. They travel differently. Brooks, right? Women's soccer. That guy's is the most winningest coach that I have in the entire portfolio of our entire athletic department. I'm going to put him on a 2-stop flight to Pullman, Washington, right? And then maybe have to cut his budget because we're not going to have the same disposable income. I'll say it this way so the average person can understand this. It's not how much money you make. It's how much money you have left after you pay your bills, right? You can make $1 million in L.A. and spend $900,000. Well, you got $100,000 left.
Right.
You can make $1 million in Memphis, Tennessee with no state tax, which I don't, by the way, but you could make that much and you have a lot more disposable income.
Right.
So it just didn't put us in a position where I felt like we could continue our ascension, for all of our sports, because I'm the AD for all of those young people and those coaches as well.
And I'm just going to continue to say that's another administrator in another league talking common sense. Gloria Nevarez, Dr. Ed Scott now. You listen to things that Tim Pernetti has said. You listen to things that Brett Yormark has said. You listen to things that these other administrators say, and they are the exact opposite of what you are hearing from Teresa Gould at the Pac-12. And again, listen to Teresa Gould with Front Office Sports here, the commissioner of the Pac-12. Listen to what she says about the recent history of the Pac-12.
They always talk about adversity being the best classroom. And I would certainly say in the Pac-12, we've had quite a bit of classroom over the last few years for me to learn as a leader. I'd say a few of the things that I've learned are, number one, relationships still really matter.
Yeah.
Right? Like really, really staying connected to your stakeholders and really being on the pulse with your stakeholders and having your ear to the ground and knowing how they're feeling, what they're thinking is critically important.
Yeah.
I'd say the other thing that I've learned and kind of observed being involved in everything that's transpired is to be more aware and always be cognizant of the threats coming your way.
Yeah.
Right? And we still talk about that a lot. Like,
are you out of your goddamn mind?
How do you say that, bro?
This is, and I just, you're talking about the Mountain West, lady. Oh, have your relationships with your stakeholders. Understand where the threats are. And yet you're suing the Mountain West because you don't want to pay the poaching fees. Are you out of your mind with this interview?
And then Dr. Ed Scott's supposed to believe that it's a better situation.
And then listen to Teresa Gould with Front Office Sports talking about the best way to rebuild the conference.
And I think everybody on my team thought we had some time to kind of figure it all out. And certainly we were mapping out all those scenarios. Like, was there a pathway in another conference?
Yeah.
There were lots of talks about mergers with other conferences, and there were a lot of different considerations. And at the end of the day, the path to rebuild the Pac-12, that opportunity came about quicker than I think we would have thought.
Yeah.
And to me, it was all rooted in the fact that it became blatantly clear that the Pac-12 brand really meant something, and that our best opportunity to meet the competitive aspirations for Oregon State and Washington State and to continue to provide the student-athlete experience that we aspire to, that we could control our own destiny more if we rebuilt the Pac-12.
So
who values the Pac-12 at a really high level?
So you can't have it both ways if you're Teresa Gould, with all due respect. And it's not
wild.
personal. I'm not saying she's a bad person, but the thing that really stands out to me is they want it both ways. Meaning, you want to say there's all this interest in the Pac-12, right? Oh my God, we chose to rebuild the Pac-12 because, man, it became increasingly clear that there was all this value and people love the brand.
Your value is what somebody is willing to pay you.
So to that point, though, you can't have it both ways. You can't say there's a ton of value and a ton of people's interest in your brand, and then you had to raid another conference and now sue them to try to rebuild.
The opportunity to rebuild the league came about much more quickly than we thought.
Only because you raided another conference, right? It wasn't that those schools said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna leave." Like it's not as though those schools were proactively trying to leave the Mountain West before they knew about your situation. Those schools, like Boise State, was perfectly happy in the Mountain West. They didn't have any intention of leaving the Mountain West until Teresa and company came knocking.
But listen to what she said. To meet the aspirations of Washington State and Oregon State. Oregon State Athletic Director Scott Barnes straight up said, we want to play for championships at the highest level. That was his stated goal, which is why he so passionately called the Big 12 in the Big 10. Does where you are now put you in a position to play for a championship at the highest level if you are Oregon State or Washington State?
Not even close.
To who are you talking to? Like, I am amazed that watching that interview, these comments went unchecked. Unchecked. And again, I will tell you, we have asked multiple times for Teresa Gould to appear on this show. They have said no. And it's because when she says wild stuff, and I think this is wild right now.
And I think everybody on my team thought we had some time to kind of figure it all out. And certainly we were mapping out all those scenarios. Like, was there a pathway in another conference? Yeah. You know, there were lots of talks about mergers with other conferences, and there were a lot of different considerations. And at the end of the day, the path to rebuild the Pac-12, that opportunity came about quicker than I think we would have thought. Yeah. And to me, it was all rooted in the fact that it became blatantly clear that the Pac-12 brand really meant something.
Like, to who? It became blatantly clear the Pac-12 brand meant something. To who? Who told you the Pac-12 brand is valuable? When you say it became blatantly clear that the Pac-12 brand meant something, where is the tangible value of that if you're going to get between $6 and $8 million in a media deal?
And this sounds increasingly familiar to me. Who told the Pac-12 that their revenue in the old model that George Klavkoff was trying to get was $50 million a year per school? Who said that? Who told you that was your value? Who told you that your deal should be mostly linear and not stream based?
And you're learning on the job.
So let me get this right. And again, everyone, I'm sure Pac-12 person is going to say, "Oh, we're hating on Teresa." So let me get this right. And I took some flack for this yesterday on the show. There's a clip in there from yesterday where she says, "Hey, it's about transformative relationships. Hey, we don't just want it to be cut us a check, put your game on the TV." So let me get this right. You're saying that you want someone to buy into a conference that has a commissioner that's learning on the fly and isn't really a conference, and you're saying that there's a ton of value out in the marketplace for this conference. So hold on. What happened to the TV deal is going to get done by December? What happened to, oh, hey, we have all this forward momentum? Because as far as I can see it, now we've got confirmed reporting off of what we told you at the time, I might add, that They invited those schools from the AAC. Those schools said no. Then you lied about your TV deal being done in December. The TV deal is not even close to done, in my opinion. I don't think you're anywhere even near a TV deal. I think that she's putting out that they're like front office sports, and this needs to be studied. I would also say front office sports put out an article before this interview, about a week before they did this, saying that it was unclear how much interest, by their own words, unclear how much interest there was in the Pac-12, only to put her on to have her say that there's loads of interest in the Pac-12. So my question is, what is front office sports doing on this story? Number one. Number two, what is the strategy for the Pac-12 to actually get back to being a conference? And why would anyone buy into this conference after that interview?
And I will compare Teresa Gould to Gloria Nevarez, who I directly asked, how close are you to a TV deal? How is your relationship with your TV partners from your perspective? And B, how close do you actually think you are to getting a new media rights deal for the Mountain West Conference?
Yeah, so, we've had long-term partnerships with CBS and Fox at the Mountain West. And of course, I've been in this business for 30 years. So of course, it's a small world when it comes to that. We've known each other for decades. So we do have very strong relationships with those two, and we are working with them on what a new media would look like. I am very, very confident, 100% confident. We will have a media deal. When it will be finalized and what it will be, that's still in the works. And, these things take time, and we're ahead of schedule. So while we're moving with urgency, I don't think we have a rush to hit a deadline.
100% confident we will have a media deal with the TV partners that we have good relationships with. Is very different than we need help.
The one thing I keep saying to potential partners is, given where we are as a league, I don't want these partnerships to be transactional partnerships. I don't want this to be a media rights partner writing us a check and televising a bunch of games. We need these partnerships to be transformational at this point, and for somebody to really jump in with us and say, we want to help elevate and reimagine the new Pac-12.
This is why you can't do interviews with caveats. Because again, and I know I don't know anything about anything, did the Mountain West, when we put in a text request, we texted the media relations director at the Mountain West, said, hey, we'd like to have Gloria Nevarez on the show. We don't know them. They don't know us. Did they say, okay, well, we'll put her on if you know? How did the conversation go? Hey, we'd like to have her on. Give me some time frames. Here are some time frames that work for us. Here's one time. On our day off, Monday, we taped that interview. That's the time that can work for her. That's the date. That's the time that can work to have her on your show. Great, let's do it. Did they say, but you have to ask her this? You better ask? No, nothing.
Nothing.
She's coming on the show at this time. Great, done. You can tell by Teresa Gould's interview that was scripted. They knew what she was going to say. She knew the questions. They knew the answers. They didn't ask a single follow-up question. And when you do the stuff that this conference has done routinely for years, this is how we got back of the envelope conversation or calculations. When you go on
back of the envelope calculations,
the great, Glory Hole podcast with Wilner and Canzano, and they don't ask a single follow-up question. When you say something as stupid as we did back of the envelope calculations.
Back of the envelope calculations.
The answer should have been, we have done forensic accounting and studies about the impact that this would have on our universities and our student athletes. And we don't think UCLA should go to the Big Ten because our deeply thought through, examined books, accounting. No. We scratched some notes on the back of an envelope and made a decision that UCLA has no business in the Big Ten.
Back of the envelope calculations.
It was stupid then. It's stupid now. And going on somewhere like Front Office Sports and getting no follow-up questions when you say stuff like, well, the best way to rebuild the conference was to blow up the Mountain West.
And I think everybody on my team thought we had some time to kind of figure it all out. And certainly we were mapping out all those scenarios. Like, was there a pathway in another conference? You know, there were lots of talks about mergers with other conferences, and there were a lot of different considerations. And at the end of the day, the path to rebuild the Pac-12, that opportunity came about quicker than I think we would have thought.
By poaching members from the Mountain West. Hey, and well, now that opportunity showed itself, but how much peril is there? Like, how is it worth it to poach those members, you know, with the legal fees that you've certainly spent tens of millions of dollars on legal fees here? Like, no follow-up questions. No, is it still worth it if you don't win the poaching case? How critical is that winning that poaching lawsuit? None of that. Hey, do you have any regrets? Do you have any second thoughts about taking those members out of the Mountain West? No follow-up question. You know, it became really clear that there was real value in the Pac-12 brand. Who determined that value? What is the value? Hey, we need somebody to have a transformative partnership. Okay, when you say transformative partnership, what does that look like?
I would also, just for clarity, I would also point out who did this interview, right? Adam Brenneman, right? Good dude. Sure, he's a great guy. No, again, not personal.
Don't know him.
Don't know him. Not trying to make it personal. But what I do know is your story, which is you went to the Cronkite School of Broadcasting at Arizona State. And at Arizona State, what you have to understand, the reason that matters is because at Arizona State, what they do to teach people the industry and like how to do interviews and things like that is they interview all the personnel in the different sports at ASU. So like he's interviewed Dillingham. He's interviewed a ton of different people at Arizona State. You can go and find it all. And what's increasingly clear, and what I noticed in looking into this, is that the same style of interview that they do at Arizona State, where they don't really ask any follow-up questions. It's just kind of like a, hey, here's the 10 questions we're going to ask you, you know, and we're not going to follow up. We're just going to go through these. Is exactly what they did here. And so with all due respect, I'm not really surprised. I am surprised, though, that front office sports did this, because I love front office sports reporting. I feel like they do a really good job. You typically get a really clear picture. You know, they're usually pretty good at what they do. And I was just really surprised that they allowed her to sit here and just say this stuff.
And which of the exiting 10 members of the Pac-12 was most passionate about keeping the Pac-12 together? That'd be Arizona State, where their president was one of the only presidents of the exiting 10 members who said, nope, we're staying, we're sticking it out, we're seeing it through. Who screwed Arizona, or tried to, by at the last minute, allegedly mea culpaing and staying. So when you have a Cronkite grad from Arizona State interviewing Teresa Gould, it's just a bad look for them. And I'll continue to point out, every time that they come out and they make one of these tactical decisions, it just blows up in their face.
Yeah, because that's what this is. Like, it is a tactical decision.
You made a bad decision to put George Kliavkoff on with Wilner and Canzano.
Back to the envelope calculations.
And I'll go and say again, John Wilner is one of the finest journalists that I've ever read. And that moment was shockingly bad. I'm not surprised from Canzano. I think the guy is absolutely a hack. He is a mouthpiece. He is terrible. But how do you not? And then in this whole expansion thing, then you say we're going to stop adding schools. We're going to stop expanding to go and get our TV deal.
Now, it's crucial to understand why, though. See, and this is the meat and potatoes of the conversation, if you will. You stopped expanding because you can't afford it. That's why you stopped expanding. You can't afford to continue to pay exit fees, which
you
again
can't afford to make promises that you're making.
Which again is why this Dr. Ed Scott thing and the reporting from SI completes this puzzle, right? Because the reporting from SI says that they were the Pac-12 when they invited those 4 schools from the American in last September were only willing to pay $2.5 million of the $27 million We're not talking about a $4 million exit fee. We're
You're
talking about
asking them to pay
$27 million exit fee.
That's Memphis cutting a check for $24.5 million.
To do that.
And probably more than that, because you were going to sue, I would assume, to lessen those fees, as we're watching the Pac-12 and the Mountain West do.
So
is it any surprise now why the Mountain West exiting members are suing? Because they're not getting help with those exit fees.
No, because that's why I'm saying so again, when at the beginning of this process, we said, hey, the Pac-12 is a little bit suspicious looking here, because I don't quite understand what the value proposition is for a school that would want to join the conference.
No idea.
Like, what is the Pac-12 saying to people? Well, it's very clear now what they're saying to people. They're saying, hey, come join our conference, be a transformative member, whether you're a school or you're a TV partner, come into this conference and help us build this thing back to what it was, because allegedly there's all this value in the Pac-12 brand, which is completely not true. That's just not true. In its current form, I don't believe there's a ton of value in the marketplace.
And
I do think, though, that if they were smart, they can get a media rights deal. But if you're out here asking for 10, you're doing the exact same thing that George did.
And again, I go back and I say, this is why what's going on in New Orleans today with the Big Ten and the SEC is absolutely transformative, game-changing, crippling. I mean, this is a huge moment in time, because you have all these universities, whether it's Memphis or Washington State and Oregon State, and you have all these people saying, well, we want to compete for the highest level. Well, then go ask me why Baylor doesn't compete at the highest level.
Mm-hmm.
Show me that. Don't go on Front Office Sports and say, well, it became evidently clear that our Pac-12 had real value. By who? Oh, wow. Look at that. Elaine Tran back in the comments section.
Dude.
Saw Elaine. North Carolina, the Big Ten. Thanks, ESPN. North Carolina.
I just don't understand this, dude.
Okay, so tell me how North Carolina exits the ACC. Because everybody keeps this story, which has no merit to it. This is fully opinion-based.
How are you guys confused on this after what Florida State just went through?
And I just keep asking. I continue to try and find the factual-based evidence that North Carolina is on their way out of the ACC. Where is the evidence? Do you know how much money Florida State, and a little bit more Clemson, but far more from Florida State? Do you know how much money Florida State has put into breaking the ACC grant of rights? When have they been able to do that? They've not been. Do you know how that thing is bulletproof? You had the commissioner of the Mountain West on this show say UNLV has signed a grant of rights, which is modeled after the ACC and the Big 12's grant of rights. Do you think
Have a lot of teams left the Big 12 recently?
Do you think she accidentally said that? Not even the Big 12. You've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on legal fees trying to get your hands on the ESPN contract that was going to be a bombshell and it was going to end the world.
There was corruption.
ESPN's in real trouble here, Monty.
Corruption and collusion.
Then you got your hands on the contract, and as we told you, there was no bombshell.
Oh.
There was no misappropriations or ethical breaches. I understand that people want to get out of the ACC. You're not getting out of it. Until you can show me a clear pathway where North Carolina gets out of it, I'm just going to keep telling you how right we've been about that. Because again, we talk to people in the heart of that conversation. There is no illegality in the grant of rights. There is no illegality in the TV deal with ESPN, who just extended that, by the way. There is no illegality, breach of contract, breach of ethics, moral turpitude that's going to break the ACC apart. Unless, and I think it's 10 members now, fully 10 members of the ACC have to agree to leave that conference together to break that grant of rights. And you tell me if you really think that that's going to happen, and you think Because all of these other jackwagons are out there. Oh, UNC's leaving the... Okay, how? Show me. Tell me. Illustrate it.
Again, y'all want to make passion-based
Like-
arguments. We're having fact-based arguments here.
I just want to understand it. Okay? And I don't. I just want to understand it. I truly do not. And Elaine, what makes you think that's going to happen?
Yeah.
I don't know. Big Papa War Machine gives 10 Monty Show members.
Appreciate you.
Thank you very much for that. Help me understand that. Thanks, Mr. Tran. NC is a breath of fresh air. Okay, so how is North Carolina? Anybody care to venture into the waters here?
Nope.
Who?
Why would they? They don't have a way to. Like,
all of the conspiracy theorists, all of the people reporting this, tell me the mechanism that gets North Carolina out of the ACC into the Big Ten. Anybody, go for it. James? Elaine Tran? Anybody? Give me that, because it's not just going to be a thing where, well, their opinion and okay, cool. Is there anybody who doubts North Carolina wants to leave the ACC?
or any other school?
No, I have no doubts. I know for a fact, and I've told you this, Duke, North Carolina, they're the ones that are going to make the decision. You're not, Tobacco Road is what runs the ACC. Just get that through your heads now. If Clemson and Florida State got on board with North Carolina and Duke, oh, that's happened already, and they couldn't get it done. Here's another question. Do you think Notre Dame is going to all of a sudden flip the script and do anything that the Big Ten doesn't want them to do? Because they're the ones that ultimately will have to say, yeah, we're going to get on board. If the ACC, and let's say they had 9 members, let's say that Miami, Florida State, Carolina, Duke, NC State, Louisville, keep going down the list. You had 9 members ready to leave the ACC. You think they're going to go to North Carolina, or you think they're going to go to Notre Dame? Hey, man, we got to get it. We're all out. We need you to be our 10th to break the grant of rights, to break the contract, the charter. So you really think that Notre Dame's just going to be like, all right, cool, let us talk about it internally. They're going to go right to the Big Ten, and they're going to go right to their friends at the SEC.
Yeah.
Because those are the 2 ones that'll be impacted. Those are their stakeholders. Those are their partners. So you don't have an avenue to do it. You don't have an avenue to do it. And I would love to hear it. Bubba Cunningham happy. Bubba Cunningham can hate the ACC as much as he wants. He has no authority to break it.
Nope.
You know, ESPN. So you think ESPN wants the ACC to break up? So let's go through this. The ACC to go away. Why would they want the ACC to go away? Is that going to save them money? No. Do you understand how much money they save on the extension of the ACC?
And I know that they didn't just extend that TV deal
to 2032, and it's a really high value deal for ESPN. The number's low. They get big games. They get great basketball. They
Everything
get great
want,
football, and they don't have to pay a premium for it.
It is not ESPN's fault that you guys signed it twice. Not their fault.
Like,
just saying.
I'm amazed by it. I'm amazed by it. Conundrum, one possible way, private equity. But how? No, Florida State tried private equity. It's $500 million.
Yeah, I think what he's saying with that comment is that they would go out and get $500 million through private
Florida
equity.
State tried that. Florida State tried that and failed. They failed to do that. And while you were failing to find your $500 million in private equity, I don't know if you noticed, but the Pac-12 melted down and the ACC shored up their flanks. So you think the ACC's got 10 members who will get out, and I think it's 10. I could be wrong. Pretty sure it's 10 members who will get out.
Yeah.
You think SMU's voting that? Because what Power 4 is going to pick up, and at that point, Power 3, which Power 3 conference is picking up SMU? What do you think Stanford and Cal are going to do? Because which Power 3 is going to pick up Stanford and Cal?
Oh, I know. The merged Pac-12 and Mountain West Conference, that should happen.
Because I got news for you. The Big Ten had an opportunity to pick up Stanford and Cal and said no.
Yeah.
Same way they said no to Washington State and Oregon State. Do you? Because we broke it first on this show. Brett Yormark's talked to all of those institutions. So if they thought they had places to go, wouldn't they have gone? Wouldn't they have had 10 members who are like, yep, we're out of here? No, because they want stability. They want stability. I just don't. I don't understand it. I don't. And it's so laughable to me that you guys just take the hook every single time. Every single time one of these jackwagon podcasts are like, oh, the UNC's leaving the ACC. Talking about it next on Jerk Off Podcast. And then it just spreads like a terrible disease. Until UNC has a mechanism to get out of the ACC,
yeah,
they're not getting out of the ACC. That contract is locked, and it is solid. Andrew G for $2. Okay, I'm not going to read that. LMAO Tanner. What did Tanner say? Here's how UNC gets into the Big Ten. The power of prayer, probably. Brandon Butler, good morning to you, sir. The only thing I can think is an executive order to create a super league.
Well,
Donnie, yeah. Joel Osteen better get working. Get on your knees. Get on your knees, bro.
Joel Osteen.
Does Joel Osteen wear a wig? Probably. Will Carmine Compton to Gloria Navarez, who I'm simply simping for. I don't know
what does that mean, dude?
I don't get the cool kids language. Capazzo, good morning, sir. The ACC is on fire and burning to the ground. Not yet. Don't forget that one. Tanner Plummer, maybe the Orange Man in DC can make an executive order to have UNC join the Big Ten. Exactly.
Cashless.
Right. Exactly right. It is. Tanner, that's a ton of private equity, though. Wouldn't you be bankrupting your donors and boosters?
At some point.
That's what I'm saying. Jeremy Bolton, a member of the program for 25 months. The biggest advocate for the PAC are Bishop Sycamore, Lene Kakua. Why bring her up? Well, not her, because she never. Anyway. And the University of Utah. There you go. There you go. I'm just amazed by it. Sir Bob Lobs. ACC deal is all right until when? 2031 or 2032, I guess. I want people to stop this madness.
Yeah, all you guys do is see one article.
Stop the madness.
That says one thing, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, that's definitely how. Like, no, it's not, dude. Like, come on.
No, it's not. And people just love it so much.
Yes.
They just love it so much. The eye patch. Hey, Mayor. Hey, Mayor Soak.
Oh, God. Here we go.
There you go. If the Pac-12 falls in a forest, does it make a sound? Probably not. Not right now.
Well, it does, because there's massive interest in the forest, as Teresa just told us.
I will stand by what I said yesterday. I absolutely think that interview with Front Office Sports was a wreck. And because and she'll never be held to account for it. I think the Mountain West is winning the PR game. I think the Mountain West is saying the right things, doing the right things. They focused on expansion, then took their new membership and they're negotiating a TV deal, a media rights deal, if you will.
They reacted to the UNLV leaving situation really well.
They, as soon as they got poached and raided, they went right to their TV partners and stakeholders. Like they've acted very quietly behind the scenes in a very prudent fashion. The Pac-12 seems to be running around pouring cups of waters on a burning inferno. And when you do an interview at Front Office Sports and nobody is checking you, I just think it's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
A huge mistake. Make sure you hit the like button, please. We're at 2,000 views and we only have 67 likes.
Oh, man, hit the like button.
Please hit the like button. That really helps the channel grow. We always appreciate that. Andrew G. As SEC sees itself above the Big 12, so does the PAC above the G5. Well, that might be true. That might be true. The PAC is not a conference. Right? Do we understand that at this point?
I don't think that people understand that, dude.
You're on a hard deadline to add 10 members, which obviously the AAC has, and now the Mountain West has. You don't have that. And until you have that, you're not recognized as a conference. But you said publicly, and by all accounts, through your actions, we're pausing expansion to get a media rights deal. And another thing that was very interestingly brought up to me the other day. Did you pause expansion because you weren't having success with your invitations? And I think the answer is a yes. Are you not having success with your invitations because you don't have a media rights deal? The answer is probably yes.
But I think it's exactly what we've said, where it's like it's the chicken and the egg.
Yes,
for the
but
Pac-12.
Do you not have a media rights deal because nobody's accepted your invitation?
Yes.
The answer is yes. And you've put yourself here by repeatedly saying and doing the wrong things. I think this interview with Front Office Sports was absolutely a disaster. Absolutely a disaster.
Yeah, I just think for anyone who's looking at this situation, it's very clear what's going on in that interview. I don't even think it's a hot take to say that interview was just basically a scripted interview. She knew the questions beforehand. Like it wasn't really a conversation. It was more just like, Adam doing what he does, which is fine. Again, not a criticism of him, but doing what he does. And that was it. Like,
yeah, it is surprising. It is surprising. Calford, good morning. But Monty, the Big Ten wants Calford. I think they do. Always on time. UW fan Jim, if the SEC had 4 auto bids, what teams would be in?
Different day. I don't know.
I think it's
year
a
to
different
year.
day. We have to stop the backward looking. There's nothing positive in the rearview mirror. And in life and in sports, if you just keep living in the past on what you've done, you're doomed to repeat it.
Yeah.
You're doomed to repeat it. The people who, any dynasty in sports, any dynasty in business, if you continue to be who you've always been, you're going to be who you've always been.
Yeah.
And I know that seems simplistic, but, Big Papa War Machine. I have all the pervert answers to all the pervert questions. Oh, God, what pervert questions?
What are we doing?
TJ Beck, Teresa has been drinking Captain Kirk's Kool-Aid cup. The hangover is obvious. It is. I think hangover is an interesting word there.
It just reeks of the Pac-12 stench and arrogance of before.
Of not adding BYU.
Yeah, I mean, it goes all the way back.
There's the huge mistake of not adding BYU to the Pac-12 is it's absolutely, you lost a lot of reach, revenue, relationships. I mean, BYU was a significant player in getting the Big 12 an extension. And it saved that conference. If BYU had been in the Pac-12, would we be having a different conversation? We might well. But you look down your nose and Sunday play and caffeinated beverages and honor codes and magic underwear and all the stuff that the Pac-12 loved to joke about.
Yeah.
With BYU. BYU is a valuable member to the Big 12. And again, taking Kansas apart at the joints last night.
You think the Pac-12 would value a relationship with ESPN, their BYU right now?
Dude, BYU was that close to a college football playoff berth. Now, they didn't win, right? And what does that tell you? They're building in the right direction. Then we move into basketball. Now they're dismantling Kansas. AJ DeBeansta. like all that stuff. You get AJ Dabansa into your program, that's not accidental. They've got money. They've got influence. They've got major donors, major players. Got an electric building to play in. Got a great stadium to play in. And you didn't want them in your conference.
Crazy.
But Marty, we don't fax checks no mo. Exactly right. Exactly right. Exactly right. Delaric, paused expansion to get a TV partner to help pay for exit fees. Well, could be. BYU murdered them last night. It's a felony in some states.
Yeah, I just don't know how, if you're a leader in the Pac-12, Teresa Gould, anybody on her team, even a president of any of these schools that are looking at joining this conference, how do you sit here and feel good about where you are? How do you,
and how do you say that you're learning on the job and then call yourself a leader? You're learning on the job. Do you not have a PR firm? Do you not have somebody telling you, okay, we're getting softball questions from Front Office Sports. Here's the verbiage we want to use.
The verbiage you probably don't want to use is when you said, hey, we don't want to get, checks just to put our game on TV. Probably wouldn't have said that, bro.
And if you go listen to Memphis Athletic Director Dr. Ed Scott on 92.9 The Game in Memphis, you know what he said? When I got here, Penny Hardaway was saying we lost tonight because the players didn't give their best effort. So we got in media training. And now he says we didn't do a good enough job as coaches to prepare our kids to play tonight.
Yeah.
Why do I bring that up? Because you go get Teresa Gould media training. Don't sit there and say, hey, the adversity is a great teacher and I'm learning on the job.
She joked. She said, we've been doing a lot of classroom lately.
Don't say that.
Like, come on, man.
Don't say, like, when you say stuff like that, it's wild. Are you helping yourself?
They always talk about adversity being the best classroom. Yeah. And I would certainly say in the Pac-12, we've had quite a bit of classroom over the last few years for me to learn as a leader.
Did you really just say that? How are you not? It's amazing. And I'll just keep going back. I never talk off the top of my head. I talk to people who know more than I do and who are directly involved in things. That's how I form my opinions. When you sit with somebody throwing you softball questions and you're talking off the top of your head, you're making a huge mistake. A huge mistake. Jeremy Bolton, the PAC dug their own grave with all their terrible decision-making. BYU not being in the Pac-12.
It's still here.
And it's still happening.
And TV executives don't just forget about that.
Jay Beers, 100% agree, Monty. Pac-12 died because they refused to add BYU. I don't think that's the sole reason. It's certainly one of the reasons.
Certainly didn't help.
They died when they started talking about $50 million per school per year.
Back to the envelope calculations.
They died when they didn't understand fully who they are and where they are. Because you died when you didn't get a media rights deal signed, when you could have had $90 million. You could have had no. But the politics for the Pac-12 are way different than BYU. It didn't matter.
Yeah, that's the issue.
The politics are of your own making. The ecosystem is of your own making. The ecosystem in the Pac-12 has been toxic for its entire existence. And not adding BYU because Sunday play and it's the Mormons and come on. How many polygamy jokes are we going to make before we recognize that has nothing to do with BYU as a business brand or come on. How many times are we going to make up lies about N-bombs to Duke volleyball players? How many times are we gonna paint BYU as something that they're not? And instead of, hey, they're a bunch of racists, they're actually a powerhouse athletic department. How about that? How about we truth tell about BYU instead of underpants and honor codes? And how about they dismantled Kansas last night? AJ Dabansa is coming. They have real donor money. They have a fantastic building in the Marriott Center. How about we talk about the fact that they're no longer, God, you guys remember Jimmer for that? They're no longer Jimmer.
Yeah, we're past that.
We're no longer the gymmer. We're now a real, fully functioning basketball program who lost their head coach to Kentucky, and they've not only survived, but they've built, and now they're thriving.
Yeah.
Will they be ranked next week? Probably. Is that a tournament team? Probably. Like, you're going in the right direction.
And how foolish do you look? Because, again, I'm just telling you guys, people don't forget, right? Like people don't forget the things you said about BYU in this case at that time. And now you're here. Like,
you ever attended home games versus Hawaii? Painful. PAC wants good games, no OSU UTEP. Okay, so I'm assuming you're supporting the Pac-12? I don't know what that means. So if you could have added Oklahoma State 7 years ago or whenever that was, you didn't want Oklahoma State? I'm confused as to what in the world are we talking about? The Pac-12 doesn't. Do you mean Oregon State, UTEP? You're not a Power 4 conference. You need 10 full members to survive here. And you're saying that you don't want Oregon State and UTEP? I got news for you, bud. If they could have UTEP today, they would do it.
Yeah.
UTEP was a very good, not an okay ad. That's a really good ad. El Paso is a hell of a market.
Yes.
And the state of Texas is not optional. And you're talking about, the Pac-12 doesn't want, and I'm assuming OSU is Oregon State. Oregon State, UTEP. Well, so you want Oregon State, Texas State then? Is that what you're trying to tell me? And if that's what you're truly saying, and I hope it's not, this is the logic that absolutely cut the balls off the Pac-12.
Yeah.
That's why we are where we are. Is that kind of statement right there. Like, I am at a loss on that. That's amazing. Old Tatanka. Pac-12 probably not long before there is an auction to sell off that media equipment. They will run into the ground before they change. I hope that's not true. I hope that Teresa Gould listens to the feedback. Listen, if you want to know exactly what the Pac-12 should do, the Pac-12 now needs to quietly behind the scenes begin extending invitations again. They already, and if they don't, they need to call Ed Scott today, the athletic director of Memphis, and say, what's it going to take? What's it going to take? What's the number? What's the number? Give me a number. Dr. Scott, give me a number. 100 million, 50 million. And if that's what it is, that's what it is. Because until you get to 10 members, you're not a conference.
Yeah, nothing to talk about.
You're not getting a TV deal. I'm telling you now, if you add a TV deal today without going and taking one more swing, because now UNLV is not going anywhere. That's over. You've got to, I would take one more swing. And you know who the first person I would call is? I wouldn't call Dr. Ed Scott at Memphis. I'd call Tim Pernetti. If I'm Teresa Gould, my first call this morning when I get to the office is Tim Pernetti. Because, hate to break it to you, unless you get Tim Pernetti on board and somehow facilitate, whether it's a merger, because everybody talks about the Mountain West and the Pac-12 merging as not deep as the AAC is. You can't just keep going to other conferences and trying to steal their biggest brands.
No.
Because you ain't got the bullets to do that. And you want to sit here on Front Office Sports and talk about relationships, you better start forming relationships. Because if you continue to burn people like the Mountain West and Gloria Navarez, who are well-respected, whether you want to believe that or not, if you continue to burn people like that, and you continue to go and lowball guys like Dr. Ed Scott, are you really building relationships across college athletics and in your industry?
No, you're not building relationships at that point, and you're crushing your reputation more than you already have.
Yeah. The current Pac-12 fanatics seem to have some kind of derangement syndrome. You're a G5 and that's it. Reality. and you need to literally pray for an invite in the future. It's viewership and money, and it is. Conundrum says Pullman to Hartford, Connecticut. They're not at, bro. You really think the Pac-12's adding UConn? Let me get this right. UConn wouldn't take a $50 million payday to join the Big 12, and you think they're going to take $6 to $8 million to join the Pac-12? Like, no, not doing it. Not doing it.
Yeah.
There's just no way. Anyway,
No, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not.
All right. Make sure that you guys download the Prize Picks app. We
had too much to talk about today.
Make sure you download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty to open a new Prize Picks account. You deposit $5, they'll give you 50 more instantly. You can play on $55 for the rest of the basketball season. I am so excited. I cannot even begin to tell you how excited I am about baseball season.
Yeah.
Now, the Cubs backdoored all of us and decided.
Yeah, can you clarify that?
Hugh Janus.
I don't know. I'm not sure what a quality lube is, but we didn't get any of it.
No diddy.
So you didn't pay Bregman. And I understand why you didn't pay Bregman. I agree, $40 million a season is ridiculous. Even though it's deferred, it's absolutely stupid money. So you went to Crotch Rocket and signed a 40-year-old third baseman who can't hit a fastball or run. And you only paid him $6 million a year. I am going to take him on more. I'm going to hit more every time Justin Turner has how many strikeouts? A lot.
More.
A lot.
More.
Can you guys hey, Prize Picks, can you add an a lot button?
A lot.
A lot. Right? Baseball is amazing. Basketball is amazing. I am so excited for this Four Nations tournament. All of it is on Prize Picks. Hook it up. Send me a screenshot. Let's compete. Maybe every Friday on the show, we should do Prize Picks Friday and give away $25 Amazon gift cards for the best prize pick over the weekend. Maybe we should do that.
Yeah.
I love that in the NBA. I am all for it. Hook it up. Prize Picks, the official daily fantasy partner of the Monty Show. Always appreciate you guys being here. Hit the like button on the way out the door. 86 likes. We need 14 more likes. If you are watching, if you're one of the 800 people watching the show right now, come on over to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Please give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. Everybody who commented today, thank you. Love and respect, man.
Peace and love, bro.
We'll be back tomorrow. As always, we are presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com. You get in an accident, you get hurt at work today. Don't reach into your pocket. Reach for your phone. Call The Advocates at theadvocates.com. Until tomorrow, say goodbye. Two shakes.
Goodbye, two shakes.